President Trump is more of a
They got some of the stupidest Trumpers for this one. I mean, are there smart Trumpers somewhere?
war-making president than a peacemaking president.
If you would like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, oh, it's this guy.
Hey, nice to meet you, Mike.
Whoa, my mic just glitched really hard. Hopefully that fixes itself.
Yeah. Good to
meet you, Glenn. So first, I want to just ask, what makes a peacemaking president?
A peacemaking president is somebody who, in the first place, avoids war for their own country, either solves and resolves wars that they inherit or prevents wars from breaking out that they would get their country involved with.
Okay, so you agree that prevention is a part of what makes a president a peacemaking president?
For sure.
Okay, so then what about Trump's foreign policy is not prevention?
Well, the first thing that he did in getting to office, basically within 30 days, was restarted a bombing campaign that President Biden had prosecuted throughout 2024, that President Trump during the campaign had heavily criticized. Yet as soon as President Trump got into office, he not only restarted that bombing campaign, but escalated it. That was the one in Yemen against the Houthis. It went on for about 5-6 weeks, entailed hundreds of people.
Gotta get our Biden bad,
necessary for like global trade to ensue? Was the Houthis not attacking multiple different ships? And
no, the Houthis were only attacking Israel at the time that President Trump did that. There was a peace
Such a fucking lie.
deal that President Trump engineered that ended up being very temporary. And the Houthis said, for as long as this peace deal is in place, we won't attack ships. Once the Israelis started violating it, not letting food, they said, we're only going to attack Israeli ships.
So here's a
and that's when
question.
President
Here's a
Trump
question
attacked.
for you, Glenn. Are we still in conflict in Yemen?
No, President Trump ended his own war that he started.
Okay, so then by your definition, did we not prevent further conflict by having this conflict, and would we not free up the trade routes in Yemen from being attacked by the Houthis? It's free, is it not?
It's like saying I stabbed myself in the stomach, but then I brought myself to the ER where I had a doctor fix me up, and that proves that I'm really interested in fitness and self-care. President Trump started the war in Yemen. He escalated the war in Yemen. It was stopped at the time that he took over.
Were the Houthis attacking people or not?
They were attacking a foreign country called Israel that is not part of the United States.
Okay,
so
do these international trade routes not affect America?
No.
How is it that, I mean, I don't know why I'm saying how is it. It makes perfect sense that Glenn would happen to pick the dumbest possible argument to fight here.
Not when it's only Israel whose ships are being attacked. You can say the war is just. The question is President Trump making war or making peace? You can say, okay, he made war in Yemen, but I think the war is just. He's still a war-making president by definition. There was no war when he got in.
By the result of the conflict that it was a peacemaking military engagement. We have peace in Yemen now.
How did it end?
How did it end?
It ended by the Houthis saying, we will not attack anybody except the Israelis, and as long as they're denying food and water entering into Gaza. And they continued to do so. It achieved nothing. All it did was have the United States deplete our missiles, our military force, our...
Loner levied some allegations against you. Is this going to be retarded banning you?
I've seen enough of it to know this is what's happening. It's quite wacky that, like, you have fucking Destiny and Dan, and I guess Ethan as well, 3 Jewish millionaires, okay? 3 Jewish millionaires, they're basically just at war with these people versus these people.
I'm sure glad my dog isn't gay.
I wish I was Jewish. I want to join the winning team, okay?
Your dog been to any pride marches lately?
Yeah, maybe you should take him to a Barbra Streisand concert.
Stupid little gay dog. Then all you've got is a stupid pig.
Destiny's not, it's a fucking joke, okay? It's Israel, shut up.
Yeah, gay pig. Stupid gay pig.
That's what I just did there, that's all a gay up, okay?
I might be 1%
Come on,
Jewish.
guys, let's go.
They're all gay.
Hey, Stan, you look almost pretty enough to kiss.
Yeah, you want to be my girlfriend?
resources. It was a war that didn't exist, that Trump created. Yes, congratulations, he ended his own war, but that is an example of a war-making president. That's just one example. There's obviously war in Iran as well, that he inherited a presidency where we were not at war with Iran. We are now at war with Iran. We've twice gone to war with Iran under President Trump. That's another war that he's made.
Do you not agree that Iran is a major threat and destabilizes the Middle East?
Not as much as the United States.
I don't, but we'll get to whether the war is just. The question now is, does President Trump make more wars?
Well,
you seem to be acknowledging he makes wars, but that they're just. I want to go back to what you
initially agreed to, though, is that part of what makes a peacemaking president isn't just, oh, we don't start any conflicts. It's actually engaging in conflicts to prevent further
So war
conflicts.
is peace. Did you read 1984 by George Orwell?
Well, no, I'm just asking. I'm literally quoting what you said earlier.
100% of the time 1984 is brought up, it's always invoked for the most reasons. It has nothing to do with what he just tried to make it sound like, but okay.
The beginning of
No,
this
but George
conversation.
Orwell in 1984 described the most extreme kind of propaganda by war-making tyrannies. And one of the things citizens
Glenn,
get
did you
told
not
is
admit,
war
though-
is peace.
Did you not admit that part of what makes a peacemaking president is stepping in and preventing further conflicts?
Yes, but you can't prevent conflicts by starting conflicts. Starting
What do you
conflicts
mean?
is starting conflicts.
Why can you
He
not
stops
use
We
the
gotta
wars
pause
that
there.
you start.
Can you
We
not
gotta
start?
pause here, Mike. We gotta pause here. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return.
Bye, Mike.
Thank you.
Just watched your Brad episode, and Brad spent more time debating that triple-chinned MAGA than you did. But how did this rank in terms of your overall Brad episodes? Was this dude more or less annoying than CJ or AJW? Everybody's annoying for different reasons. It's hard to say, Josiah. Like, AJW is annoying to me because it's hard to explain AJW. He's not like he's not like part of the MAGA team, and he's smart, but he chooses to be part of the MAGA team for reasons that I think he knows are I just don't understand. The AJW guy doesn't grift hard enough to make a fuck ton of money on his channel, but he isn't honest enough to say that he's a good actor. I don't know how to. I just don't know how to. I don't know. I don't know how to. Yeah. And then who was the CJ guy? Was that the black dude who was just like a blatantly, obviously MAGA propagandist person? And then this last guy is like the least. He's the most inoffensive type of person, but probably the worst because he's like the most likely to get a job in the administration and then to do real damage to American democracy. I don't know. They're all hateable for different reasons.
So in reference to Trump being a peacemaking president or a warmongering president, let's say, for example, let's start with the conflicts that he did indeed stop, right? For example, Pakistan, India. Pakistan nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. They said that he specifically played a big role
What
in
did
preventing
India
that
say?
conflict. Well, India disagreed, but Pakistan regardless said that he played a key role in preventing it. We had Thailand.
Be a good reason to bring up 1984. I don't know, stuff related to propaganda, stuff related to language. I mean, there is, to pretend that there's no valid argument that having strong, military powers can dissuade other people from engaging in reckless or crazy actions is, I just don't, that's not a very realistic view of the world. If you think somebody can fuck you up if you invade them, they're probably not going to invade you. And you can use your military as a show of strength to ensure peace, peace through strength around the world. But that's not necessarily the same as saying war is peace, to have infinite wars with other countries. I guess that, I would say that was probably more the point in 1984, because part of how the propaganda machine worked with that government was they always had to be at war with somebody, so much so that they might even change who they're at war with in the middle of a speech.
Versus Cambodia also break out. Cambodia
Why are people putting arrows in chat? Wait, hello? Your mic just went right ear for a second. Good.
nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize and also said that he prevented that conflict. I'd also say in reference to Venezuela, obviously no one thinks that Maduro was good there. The tyranny was crazy. The way that he was leading the government, everyone agrees. But he was able to take Maduro out, and Daisy Rodriguez, who's now the vice president, is very, you could say, subordinate or servile, right? 50 million barrels worth of oil, restricting Cuba, so on and so forth. And so I would disagree that he's a warmongering president.
Okay, the point is not he's a warmongering president. The formulation is he's
Right.
more of a war-making president
Sure.
than a peacemaking president. So even in your examples, including in Venezuela,
Right.
you're not denying that he used military force in a way that is considered an act of war
Sure.
by every country on the planet.
Including
you're
us.
defending the wars that he's making by saying they lead to good outcomes, which we can debate, but that's a separate question
Sure.
from the proposition. As far as these wars that you're concerned that I know he loves to cite, India was vehement that he had no role to play of any meaningful kind in mediating that conflict between India and Pakistan. That is a war that goes back, that conflict goes back many hundreds of
But
years
so does
long
many of these
before
other
Trump.
conflicts.
But even, let me ask you these questions, this
Right.
question about these other conflicts that you've named. Were those
Right.
part of the 2024 campaign? Did
Not
anyone ever
necessarily, but I
mention
don't think that-
right? But you know why? Because they're completely trivial, and because the role that the United States plays in them is also essentially trivial as well. These are and a lot, we can analyze those.
Sure.
But let's be clear: the real
Did Greenwald vote for / endorse Trump? I feel like it was either, if he didn't endorse Trump, I feel like he spent more time attacking Dems. That would be my feeling. I'd have to go back and check though.
question is: does President Trump make war for the United States? Whether he
answer is
plays
no.
some ancillary role in this, well, we're in a major war.
Well, so let's
we're in a
clarify a
major
few
war
things.
now,
So when it
right?
came to
We're in a
Venezuela-
major war, aren't we? In Iran.
I mean, sure, we're in a conflict, but I don't think that
Like, that's 1984 right there. We're not at war. We're at conflict, okay? That's is it Newspeak or Doublespeak or whatever? It's just fucking. I don't know.
This is where you actually
A
got it
war?
wrong.
Is
with
it
the
a
last
war?
guy.
Is it a
You
war?
can call it's a war and a conflict. There's no necessary there's no disagreement there. It's a conflict and a war. It's both, right? But the conflict didn't start recently, right? In 1979, Iran kidnapped 66 Americans and held them hostage for over 400 days, right? So
why did they do that?
happened because they're anti-Western. But hold on, just let me finish this. So the conflict with
they're
Iran, or our issues
anti-Western.
with Iran,
True.
in reference to specifically the Islamic
That's
Republic,
it.
started more there. In 1982, 3 years later specifically, there was the Beirut barracks bombing, which I'm sure you're familiar with, where 242 Americans were killed in Beirut. They were there as a peacekeeping force, actually. And guess who specifically? I believe in 2002, a federal judge actually ruled that Iran supplied Hezbollah and gave them intelligence to kill 242 Americans. On top of that, I believe in Venezuela, they have the Quds Force as well that is there. They fund 3 main terror groups. According to the FDD, they spent about $16 billion doing so, right? Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen. And by the way, the last guy, you were also wrong. $200 billion worth of economic damage in reference to the Red Sea, where 1/10 of trade
Were
goes
we at
through.
war with Iran when President Trump was inaugurated?
No, we weren't directly in
Are we
in
at
terms
war
of,
now?
Right. So
So
I
he
think
made
I would,
that
I
war,
would say,
right?
wait,
He was
hold
a
on,
war
hold on,
maker.
hold on, hold on,
Hold on,
No,
hold on,
no,
hold
we
on.
talked a lot. It's
I would
Bad
say
faith.
that we were already in
That
a
was bad
conflict.
faith.
I would say
Yeah,
that,
we were in
yes,
conflict.
generally, not like war in terms of declaring war conspicuously, but yes, we've been in a conflict, a long-standing
the
conflict
proposition
specifically.
is President Trump is
Okay.
more of a war-making
Right.
president.
I don't think any of those
than
conflicts were made by Trump. That's where you're wrong.
India and Pakistan were in conflict prior to the war that
Right.
you
And,
mentioned,
and
right?
we were in conflict with Iran.
Exactly.
Prior
There
to
are a lot
this
of people
as
who
well.
are there are a
That's
lot
what you're
of
not
there are a
getting.
lot of countries that are in conflict with one another.
Right.
They're not
We
all
agree.
at war. Most of them are not at war. The United
Right.
States became in a war with Iran when Israel and the United States announced that they were attacking Iran and started a war with Iran. Of course,
Right.
there's conflicts. There's conflicts between Brazil and Argentina.
Sure.
There's conflicts between Peru and Uruguay. There's
But you're
conflicts
being
between
vague.
I'm being very specific. I'm talking about a war.
There's a difference between smaller conflicts or like a general conflict that's going on for a long time and like a large-scale war and even like, for example, small military engagements. Like, for example, midnight.
Also, by the way, part of the reason why this conversation is difficult is because, in an annoying way, it's actually correct that there are no real definitions for war. That's not like a thing that the international was like, oh, this is defined as a war, and this is defined as a strike, and this is defined as a conflict. There's not really like a hard rule for any of this. It's all kind of vibes based, like our Supreme Court is right now.
Hammer, we bombed Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan were more smaller engagements, right? And by the way, we pulled out pretty quickly, and everything was fine afterwards.
If Russia came to the United States and bombed 3 different nuclear facilities in the United States with B-52 bombers of the Russian
Are you
Soviet
saying would that be
analog,
casus
would
belli?
you consider that to be an act of war?
Yeah, you're saying it would be Cassius Belli, right?
No, I'm not
Cassius
talking about
belli
Cassius Belli, who's that guy?
means act of war.
Yeah, would you?
So, yeah.
Well, technically, it means cause for war, like a cause to go to war. But okay. Wait, or is Cassius a different word? Oh shit, I might be. Cassius might be a different thing. There's fucking div players in here. Is Cassius a different word? No, he's retarded. Are you sure? Okay. Close call.
Yeah, it would be Cassius Belli. That's the answer.
Okay, congratulations on using Latin.
Right.
I'm just wanting to. I don't want to necessarily test your language.
that would be
that would be an act of
It is a little crazy that Glenn covers so much international politics and never heard this term before, but okay.
war, right?
Yeah, the same way
okay,
that, hold on. The same way that, for
Whatever.
example, the IRGC, the Pakistani guy that was recently convicted, he admitted that the IRGC paid him and tried to give him intelligence to assassinate Donald Trump around the time where Butler happened. That's also Cassius Belli.
Were we
the
at
fact
war
that the
with
IRGC
Iran
tried
when-
to kill
Okay, but was that actually true? Or did he just say that?
our president.
Were we at war with
that the
Iran?
electorate elected
Were we at war
is
with
an act
Iran?
of war.
Were we
so
at
yeah,
war?
we've been in conflict
you
and
said
an act of war with
no,
Iran for a very long
okay,
time.
but you
and
just-
it's funny that you're not mentioning.
you
you're
said-
not mentioning the fact that 242 Americans were killed in Beirut in 1982.
The United
Was
States
that not
has
an act of
the
war?
United States has killed
Was that
countries
not an act
throughout
of war?
the Middle East. You know what President Reagan did in response to that? He said
Right.
the reason this happened is because we have a military base in Lebanon where we shouldn't be, and he withdrew those troops. That's because he knew that the reason we were being attacked was because we were interfering in that region.
Yeah, we were there
the
as a
reason
peacekeeping
that
force from
Iran
the UN.
took over and the embassy was because we had overthrown their democratically elected government in 1953 and imposed a savage, brutal tyranny on them that ruled that country from 1953 until the revolution in 1979.
sure.
But these are all historically interesting points
That's
that we could
actually
talk
wrong.
about with the justification. No, it's not wrong. The point is, I asked you earlier, was the United States at war with Iran?
The answer is yes.
But you said no. And
It depends on how you're defining war. It depends on how you're defining war in long-term conflict. But let me hold on.
The point is, we were not at war, as you said the first time when I asked you, with Iran.
Not war, but 1949 Geneva Convention. International armed conflict is any use of armed force between two or more states. Yeah, they have a broad definition for so that you know what's encompassed by international law, but there's not like a definition for being like at war. But the reason why the Geneva Convention has to define international armed conflict is because the Geneva Convention is here and international law is here to regulate how countries deal with other countries, but not to regulate how they police themselves. So like if I had a police officer in the United States and that police officer shot and killed, some American citizen for whatever reason, the Geneva Convention is nobody has any say over that internationally, right? It's a policing issue. However, if a police officer or a group of police officers go on some mission over to Mexico and they kill somebody, you would analyze that through the lens of, well, hold on, this is an international armed conflict now. You can't police another nation's citizenry, unless you have like consent from the government or some joint operation or whatever. But yeah.
When President Trump took office,
Sure.
he didn't talk about there being a war throughout
No,
the
he talked about in 2011,
and we are now
2013,
in a war because
even by the way,
he made a
2020,
war.
He continued
made a
said
war
Iran
with
cannot
Iran.
have a nuclear weapon. By the way, can you explain to me the reason for 60% rich uranium? No country that has tried to, or even been in talks of trying to get a nuclear weapon,
Because
has ever
President Trump
reached 60% and not gotten to 90%,
Because
which is
President
weapons
Trump
grade. That's never, ever
invalidated
happened,
the
by way.
agreement where they were only at 3%. President Trump make this war.
No, that's not. The answer is no.
So
This
we
has
were
been
at- we were
this has
at-
been a general.
we
yes,
were at
we
war,
have been.
but-
We have been at in a general conflict with Iran, or you could say even a war. For
I am saying
over
war.
over 47 years.
And President Trump just forgot to mention that we were at war when he was running for president in 2024 and never said,
Yeah.
no,
No,
by the way, we're at war with
he
Iran. Here are
openly,
my
he openly
plans
said,
for-
no. He's been very conspicuous about this. He's been very clear about the fact that we have a conflict with Iran. We have issues
No, a
with
war,
Iran.
a
They
war.
tried to
We
kill
do
him.
have conflict.
Right, again, I don't think you understand it. Wars can also be conflicts.
Exactly,
So I
but
don't
they
know why you
aren't
keep
but
saying-
conflicts aren't
Right.
necessarily wars. The question is,
Yes.
was there a war with Iran? And if so, why didn't President Trump bother to mention, hey, by the way, we're
He's
at
been
war
very
with Iran in
conspicuous about it.
2024, and
He's
here's
been very conspicuous about it.
So
Well,
the
I don't know,
war didn't
what
start-
would be the incentive? Just like, hey, we're at war with Iran. Look, everyone understands that we've been at a long-term
Nobody
conflict
understood
with
because it was
Iran.
never true. It
No,
was we
and by
weren't
the
at
way,
war.
We got to pause here. Can we just hear your response?
These
and then we gotta
talking
stop?
points
Yeah.
that these
You're-
to fuck go through now are just so stupid. It just makes them look so dumb.
Yeah, it's like it's such a reach, right?
It's indefensible.
It's the thing that I talked about before where it's like if you've made one statement in your entire life about a thing that they don't like, they'll hold it against you forever. But in their mind, like if Trump has made one statement about a thing in his entire life that they do like, then they'll hold that to him forever. Like the double standard is crazy. Trump ran on no new wars. That's it. No new wars. No new wars. No new
Not
wars.
that we're going to end the war that we're in.
So for them to rewrite history, and I was like, well, no, actually, he's been talking about Iran the entire time. I was like, well, then why didn't he run on like, let's fuck up Iran? Because he didn't run on that. Pointing back to what he said in 2011, especially before he was president. Oh God, I hate. So in a way, I truly do feel like I've said this before. I feel like Trump. This is so. It sucks to say this as an American, okay, but like for the rest of the world, I feel like Trump embodies America to some extent, or like embodies everything about America. You've got the wealthiest man in the world, largely because he inherited it from his father, has failed tons of businesses, but he has a strong brand because he's a celebrity. And part of the brand is just being a celebrity as a good businessman, even though he wasn't actually a good businessman. So we got a little simulacrum going on here too. And then he's become the president. His taste is gaudy at best, if not just downright tasteless at worst. He's like the false bravado, the false masculinity, the false intelligence, the surrounded by yes men. It is like he encapsulates the worst of what you could possibly be, like as an American, but still making it. I just think it's the way these people have to twist themselves is like insane to me.
It's funny to watch, I guess, but yeah, it is retarded.
Yeah. Hold on, a few memes. Sneeko quits after turn 2.
Oh, you can only move once per turn. Okay.
Brother went from enjoying witchcraft Xena and muscular Sarah Pussy to playing Civilization.
Yeah, way better. What are you, an incel that worships pussy? That's why you're never gonna make it in life. In TTS, talking about women that don't know you from 3 years ago. Dork.
Bro's a gangster already. Make another Connecticut dance.
React to a Gideon video.
Yeah, I'm bored, dude. I can't.
Okay.
I hate this.
New rule, we need to find the Black Council, okay, in the United States. I don't know where you guys are. African Americans need to be more protective of the N-word, okay? Not only, okay, Mexicans, Asians, no more, but African immigrants, and I'm going to say it, Caribbean people, no more. Okay, that should be an African American only word. All these other people, not allowed, because a lot of them are racist. Okay, whoever decides that, whoever makes those decisions, you guys need to get on that. All right. Not even Nope, no Dominicans, no Haitians, no more. No. Well, they can, but there needs to be like a vote amongst the African American community on whether or not you want to let them in or not. Okay. Okay. Our regularly scheduled meme break.
Several wars that President Trump started in Yemen, Venezuela, and Iran. You can say they're just or not, but these wars did not exist. Nobody said they existed during the 2024 campaign, including President Trump. And when he announced them,
Yemen
he announced
civil war
them
that happened?
as with the United
we gotta
States in
stop with him.
2024. All right.
All right, pause.
Good talk.
Pause. Cut.
Hello, how are you? Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I want to get back to the prompt about peace versus war. So the way I look at it is the first Trump administration was a peaceful administration. There was no new wars that were started, right? We had the Abraham Accords, which Trump should have won a Nobel Peace Prize for because it was historic. And then we had something that was ahistoric, right? So the Biden administration came in between. It kind of disrupted Trump's foreign policy.
Like, you can't take credit for peace in the Middle East if it can get undone by a single president. Also, what did Biden do to make Hamas attack? We never really get to that point. Obviously, this is like, you're asking any question that's more specific about this, nobody can answer. But
And under the Biden administration, we saw the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was really a green light to our anti-Western
Which was Trump's plan, by the way, right?
Really
Yeah,
have
it
the strong
was.
will to defend U.S. hegemony abroad. Following that, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And then we saw Biden trying to re-engage in JCPOA negotiations as a legacy of the Obama administration. And he unfroze $16 billion in assets to the regime and then also waived sanctions so they could sell over $100
Whose
billion.
assets were those?
They're theirs, but they're frozen.
Iran's assets.
Correct, but that's going against the maximum pressure campaign. So if you don't want war, how do you then deter a belligerent actor if it's not maximum sanctions? What would your solution be then? To let them...
In general, in every other country on the planet except the United States and Israel, war is talked about as a last resort, something that you engage in only if there's a country that's attacking you.
Which were...
Oh, the U.S. and Israel, the only two countries that look to war for... Oh, thank you for that, Greenwald. What a genius.
Attacking your homeland or attacking... What's
Okay,
that?
so the sanctions are a legacy of the Iraq-Iran war in the 1980s. So which war? We're talking about the current operation, which is not a war.
I'm talking
or-
about why we should be at war with Iran at all.
Right, the second.
And you're saying, what is it that we should be doing
Well,
to Iran?
I'm saying
and
my point with talking about the Biden regime, the Biden administration, was that they empowered, we could maybe use regime, they empowered the Iranian regime diplomatically, financially, which then positioned them for October 7th, and also the Houthis. It is true, the Houthis blocked off the Suez Canal for...
Oh, gotcha. Oh, so Biden empowered Iran, which made October 7th. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
For 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
We also
Based.
had British military naval ships in the region, U.S. military ships. So they weren't just attacking Israel, although, yes, that was a part of it. So we saw a destabilized Middle East because of the direct
Okay, so
empowerment
let me
with Iran.
just, it's interesting because I think there's a very American perspective because we are a country that is constantly at war, unlike everybody else on the planet. The last time China fought a war was 1979, and one of the reasons they're displacing the United States and every region in the globe, including Latin America and Africa, is because they spend their resources building up their country while we have our country deteriorating because we spend so much time and money and effort and resources on foreign
the
wars.
The other take is that they don't have the conventional capabilities to enact a
They have a
war.
massive, gigantic military. They just don't. They just know
but we still
that, which is
deter that
what, by
because
the
of
way,
our
which was what
military.
President Trump's primary political appeal was that we're constantly fighting these foreign wars. We have to stop fighting foreign wars in the Middle East so that we can focus on our own communities and our own country. And here we are back in another one. But I think the point about Iran is that the idea that we can just go and steal countries' money, as you said, it's
But that's not
Iran's
what the point of the
assets. They
claim
have
is.
oil
The
in their
claim is
country.
that we're a
Let me
war-making
just
country.
finish. They
Let him
sell their
finish.
oil
Stop
to
cutting
other
him off.
countries. They receive money for it. We take that money using our dollar as the reserve currency. We steal it and freeze it, and then
We don't steal
somehow
it. We
I
are
should also say
punishing
that
a belligerent regime.
President Trump just lifted sanctions on Iranian oil at sea,
Right,
enabling
it was
them to
a
get huge
will
amounts
good
of money.
Faith. It was a good faith.
No,
action
it was
for
because
China.
he
Yes,
needed
for
to
the
do that
negotiations.
because we need oil on the global market because of oil
It's been
because
closed
gas
for-
prices are so
it's
high.
still lower than it was under the Biden administration.
No, I'm
At
saying
the-
that
At its peak. That's what we're comparing the whole administration to? Is the peak price? After like 20 global fucking wars and the supply crunch from COVID, everything. Okay, cool, gotcha.
Because of this war, President Trump lifted sanctions on Iranian oil at sea.
Yes, as
they
a
are now
goodwill to China
charging
to bring it to
money.
the
They are
negotiation
now
table.
charging money for the Strait of Hormuz,
goodwill.
and
Yes, 'cause that's
the
the only
and there's
tactic they have
no
left.
way there will be an end to this war that we're currently
No.
negotiating unless the sanctions are lifted on Iran.
They're
Because
completely
there's-
wiped out at the knee. Let me just get back to what I was saying
Yeah,
about the Biden
let's get
administration
back.
because it's important. So
Yeah.
we look at how diplomacy has never worked. The JCPOA completely empowered the regime. Same thing with Biden again. So Trump came into a region that was completely changed. Also
Yeah.
just globally, right?
True.
I believe the Iranian regime bought 2.5 million acres in Venezuela, which is in our Western Hemisphere. So he came into a world where our anti-Western adversaries had gained strategic holdings that hinder U.S. hegemony abroad. So he went into the region and he said, okay, I'm going to negotiate with the Iranian regime. They didn't come as good faith actors to the negotiation table. Operation Midnight Hammer was a preemptive strike. They still continue
Was
to come
Biden
to
at
the
war with
table.
Iran?
I would say,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
it's hard
war.
to be at war with a regime that you're funding.
So Biden
Oh.
was not at war with Iran?
Well, we were at
Careful.
war with Iran via Israel, if you want to look at it as a proxy situation.
What?
So Biden was fighting a war against
And also
Iran?
another thing, you keep saying that Trump started wars
No, I'm
in
just-
Yemen,
I'm trying to
in
figure out if
Lebanon.
we
Again,
about
but those
this
are
war.
proxy wars funded by Iran.
Was
those,
the United
those
States at
conflicts
war
existed
with,
way before President
was
Trump came into
Biden
office.
waging a war against Iran?
He was funding the regime and empowering them.
Okay,
so the
was
answer
he
is no. It's really hard
okay,
to wage
so the
war
in
against
Iran,
a regime that
exactly.
you're
So the
propping
war
up.
in Iran was started by President Trump in the second
The
term,
war
correct?
in Iran is First off, it's not a war; it's an operation. We have highly discriminately taken out
What
heads
would
of
be
the
a war be?
IRGC.
How is it not a war?
Well, it's not a war because the Iranian regime
We're
can't
blowing up
respond
their
in a way that
bridges. We're
necessitates
blowing up
war.
their bridges.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it's an
We're blowing
operation.
up their,
and they've been blowing
what's
up the Middle
difference
East
between a war and
since.
no, I'm just trying. Again, the proposition we're supposed to be discussing,
Right,
and I
he's
realize why
war-making.
you don't want to and others don't want to. Is
No, I am.
President,
I'm
no, let
demonstrating
me,
how
let
the
me, I
regime
have
was
to,
empowered when
you
Trump
have
came
to let
to
me
office,
finish.
so it
You
necessitated
have
a
to
response that was
No,
different than
she doesn't
Trump's
have to let you finish, Glenn. She's a
administration
queen.
when there was peace through
President?
strength.
You have to let me finish. What the question we're supposed to be debating
Which
is that
I answered.
President Trump is more of a war-making president
And I
than a
just said he
peacemaking
came into a
president.
situation in the Middle East that was vastly different than the one that he
No,
left
I understand.
because of
I understand.
weak foreign
I'm
policy.
trying to ask about war,
Okay, so
which
no,
is
what is the response then? So if it's not high pressure
was
sanction
President
action-
Biden waging a war on Iran? Yes or no?
Well, if you're talking about responding
Can you
to
just answer that? What's
so
the
then yes,
answer?
if Iran is considered the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas, then yes, we
President
were waging
Biden
a war.
was waging a war in
yes,
Iran.
via our
I
proxies.
thought you said he was so favorable to Iran, that he
I
was
said
treating
he
Iran
empowered
so
the
well.
regime. Yeah, both sides of the conflict, but he empowered the regime.
Were we at war not with Iran's proxies, but with Iran itself under
well,
Joe Biden?
Iran actually broke the status quo of not engaging with Israel, our greatest ally, in May of
Did Joe
2024.
Biden wage a war on Iran?
It's not. First off, again,
Why
I
can't
am
you just
contesting-
answer? Why can't you just
I just
answer?
said yes. If you're going to consider via proxies, which
No,
you
I'm not. I don't
apparently-
mean via proxy. I mean
Well,
directly
you
with
said,
Iran.
Okay, but you're contradicting yourself because you said Trump started wars
I'm
in
only
Yemen,
asking a
and you defined
question.
it by the
Contradiction.
proxies
I'm only
in
asking a
Yemen. So you
question.
can't define war one way for Trump
I'm
and
only
not
asking
with
a
Biden.
question.
We got to pause there. We're out of time. Please return to your seat.
Queen, you got
Raise
him.
your flag if you would concede that Trump started this current war with Iran.
Nah. Hell no. Good job,
Okay,
guys.
so we got two people. Thank you.
My next round of claim is President Trump is subservient to the Israel lobby.
If you'd like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
Hey, good to meet you.
Ryan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nick Matau. Okay, I think important thing to do with debates is to define our terms. Can you please tell me what subservient is?
Oh boy. Wait, oh, this is the guy. Right? Isn't this the guy who's like on, is it Twitch or YouTube? We see his stuff often? Or I've seen his stuff before, I think, right?
Yes, serving the interest of someone else, taking orders from somebody else, taking direction from somebody else, not in every case,
Yes.
but as
Yeah,
a
he's a
general
guy.
posture ethos.
Okay, so that's already a problem because subservient doesn't mean not sometimes taking the case, sometimes not. Subservient is literally defined as in a subordinate manner you are controlled by in a very direct way.
You want to set it up so that if you can point to one example where President Trump didn't do what Israel wanted, then that means somehow he's not subservient to Israel. That's,
Sure, right
you're
now.
just want to creating a binary framework where as long as you can point to one example
I can
where
point
the
to many
Israelis
examples,
wanted something.
actually.
Right, so that's why I'm saying that is not what this proposition means. It doesn't mean that in each and every case, President Trump is
Right.
fully and absolutely obedient to Israel. If you want me to concede that there are instances, I will be happy to point to some as well
Not
where
conceding
President Trump or
instances.
other
Okay,
presidents.
you're
So
just
that's not the question.
I understand. I'm saying that your claim, it's your claim. I didn't force you to make the claim. Your claim is not there's high influence. Your claim is not any of that. Your claim is he's subservient. And if you're going to say he's subservient, that means something. Now, if we want to change what you're saying and you just want to say he has higher influence from, when you say pro-Israeli, do you just mean Jews? What do you mean by that?
No, of course I don't mean Jews. There are huge numbers of Jews who oppose Israel.
I'm asking.
There
well,
aren't,
generally when I debate this topic, a lot of people will say like, you know, the Adelsons, right? Because they're Jewish, they're Israeli. Or do you mean pro-Israel? Like you're talking about AIPAC, you're talking about J Street.
People talk about George Soros, but nobody suggests that he's pro-Israel. The reason people talk about the Adelsons is because they gave $300 million to Trump's campaigns, and Trump himself said that every time the Adelsons came to the White House, they
Israel.
didn't ask about the United States, they asked for things for Israel. Trump went to the Knesset last year and said Miriam Adelson loves Israel more than they love the United States.
Is Trump subservient to Elon Musk?
No, I don't think Trump is subservient to
Elon Musk, at least in this last election cycle, gave significantly more than the Adelsons.
Right, he's one individual. He's one individual.
Exactly, one individual gave more than two, and also the lobbying groups. But that being said, what is it that makes you think he's controlled in at least a significant way by whatever you're saying?
What President Trump himself said. President Trump said that every single time Sheldon Adelson came to the White House, they asked for things for Israel, and he gave it to them. They didn't ask for things for the United States. He said that Miriam Adelson.
He didn't say he gave everything they asked for.
Yes, he did. He said
no.
He said every time. He said in fact,
the Golan Heights.
They asked. He gave them even things that they.
At the Israeli-American Council Summit on September 19, 2024, Trump said of the Adelsons, as soon as I'd give them something, always for Israel, as soon as I'd give them something, they'd want something else. But I gave them the Golan Heights, and they never even asked for it. I don't even know what the fuck Trump was talking about here, but okay.
He said, in fact,
he didn't say he gave everything they asked for.
Yes, he did. He said
no.
He said every time. He said, in fact,
the Golan Heights.
They asked. He gave them even things that they didn't ask for Israel, not for the United States.
Correct. He did not tell them times where they had talks where they disagree. He never talked about that. I know exactly which quote you're talking about. You're adding that in to push your narrative right now.
No, I'm not
but
adding anything.
That being said, we're not here to talk about just the Adelsons. We're here to talk about the pro-Israel lobby. I'm asking you, how do you know that they are controlling Trump at least in a significant enough way to whatever your claim means?
What I'm saying is that President Trump makes decisions in the interest of the Israeli people and the Israeli government over and above the American people, and it's the only country for which that's true. That is subservience.
Okay.
We can go back to the semantic definition, but that is what I mean. And there's so many instances where President Trump has taken steps, and right now his entire focus is on a country that is Israel's primary adversary, that Israel has wanted for decades the United States to go in and change the regime.
Is Glenn a level 1 grifter? Yeah, I feel like Glenn is, unfortunately, I think he knows when he's full of shit, when he's not, because he can navigate through arguments where sometimes, anytime somebody's like selectively skeptical, it makes me think that they're intentionally lying. Like there are times when Glenn knows exactly what game is being played and he'll counter it as he's supposed to, and then there are other times where he'll play the game. And so I feel like he's fucking propagandist.
And the hyperbole, his entire focus is not on that, but I get it. But my question for you,
I would hope it is. It's a very dangerous war. He should be.
Your argument, you trying to prove your argument's failing because what you're saying is that he is just giving everything they want, as if
I didn't say that.
Actually, you literally said that. You said he gave everything they want.
I said at the start, I would
rewind the clip.
I said at the start, if you want to prove that there are times when Trump doesn't give everything to Israel, I would concede that it's not a binary absolute framework.
I'm trying to get my question.
Do you remember
out.
when I said that?
I do remember when you said that, and I remember when you contradicted yourself a few seconds later.
What did I say when I contradicted myself?
I already said this point, but here's the problem. When he said that people go in, we want this, and he's like, I don't really agree with that. It's like, well, we'll give you some more money. He's like, okay, I agree with it now. How do you know Trump doesn't just already align with the same ideology?
The reason I know is because President Trump spent a full decade promising people like you and everyone else who voted for him that he was not going to involve the United States in more Middle East wars, in more regime change wars. That is the basis and foundation for Trump's entire political movement. Israel comes to the United States, and there's no way to compare Israel to any other country. Netanyahu came 7 times. No other world leader came twice.
Damn, 7 times?
Give billions and billions of dollars to Israel. I thought I let you talk, and yet you sit there and say, let me talk, and then I get 6 words out, and can't control yourself.
Go ahead, Glenn.
So there's no comparison.
Oh
we give infinitely more money to Israel. We deploy our military forces to protect Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu came 7 times, and then when he was done coming, Donald Trump turns around and does exactly what he's been promising for a decade that he
intentional?
wouldn't do, which is he goes to war in the Middle East, a regime change war in the Middle East against Israel's primary enemy after Netanyahu spent 30 years saying, this is what we want the United States to do. That is how
But
I
that's
know
not
that
true.
President Trump does things that Israel tells him to, even though he doesn't already believe
Okay,
it.
well, first off, that's actually not proof that he does. That's just an indication that you might be right, but I'm going to correct your quote. Actually, President Trump said multiple times, just off the top of my head, I'm sure I'm missing some, he said multiple times that he doesn't want to go straight to military action with Iran, but he has made it very, very clear that if negotiations are exhausted, I will use the military option.
For regime change?
Okay, first off, do you know what the 4 goals of the war are in Iran?
I'm asking you, did
Do
he
you
ever
know what the 4 goals
yes,
of the
I
war
do.
are?
Did he
Okay,
ever,
what are they? Is it regime change?
They changed so many times.
No. President Trump,
There aren't 4 goals.
There has been 4 stated goals. You can go on the internet right now to the official government website and you will read the 4
goals. At the beginning of the
goals.
war, Trump, in an interview with the Washington Post, said, my main goal and why I'm attacking Iran is to free the Iranian people. Is that one of the 4 goals that that President Trump said was his most important objective when going to war with Iran?
I'm going to concede something. I agree with you that President Trump speaks in very grandiose measures. He does. I'm not going to. Everything's the biggest thing ever, the most beautiful thing ever. It's the worst thing ever. I'm not going to disagree with you.
That was a stated goal of the war.
No, it was not. If you listen to our Department of War,
objective.
If you listen to our Department of War, and by the way, you can
it's
go
the
on.
president that determines the war objective.
I understand. Okay,
it's not the Department of War. It's the president.
That's not true. I was in the military for 12 years. That's not actually particularly
Who was your
true.
commander in chief? The secretary.
What? Okay, hold on. Wait. I thought this guy was like, I think he had like different positions than me, but he was like a good debater or had things that, I don't know. I guess I just haven't seen too much of him, but I feel like he's saying kind of some retarded. You were in the military? Excuse me. Why the fuck? Like, what do you think, fuck Mark Zuckerberg has to do every day as a CEO? Like, what do you think about it? Well, it's like, well, hold on. You want to talk about Zuckerberg? I worked at Facebook. It's like, what, next door to the Zuck? Do you guys share cubicles? What does that have to do with anything? What?
That's not true. I was in the military for 12 years. That's not actually particularly
Who was your
true.
commander in chief? The secretary of defense?
No, it's not.
It was the
First
president,
off,
right? It was
No.
the president.
First off, that's not how objectives are attained. You're right. He agrees with them or disagrees with them. And again, I agree. Trump will go on interviews and he will say stuff
who
that.
sets war goals for the United States?
Well, first off, it's actually a complex measure of how it goes out. Are you asking?
Oh my God. Ultimately, the president of the United States is the commander-in-chief of our military. He is the head of the executive body that executes wars, okay? What do you mean? It stops with the president. Now, ideally, he would listen to his advisors, but this is the worst administration ever to argue that it's not the president making the calls. We've had so many other people both report on and seem to state, Tulsi Gabbard probably left the government over it, that President Trump doesn't listen to anybody but himself when it comes to war goals. So, or Netanyahu, I guess.
Asking who agrees with the finalized goals?
When a war started, who determines what the goals of the war are?
Again, it's a very complex measure.
Correct?
Oh my God.
Again, if you're saying agree with, he gets briefs, he gets people from the Pentagon.
Who's the final decision maker about the goals of the war?
That's the right question, and that would be the commander-in-chief.
The president, right? So
if you look at the official
when we want to know what wars are,
if you look
we
at
look
the
to what the president says.
I got
correct?
it. If you look at the official memo that was signed by him, that was pushed out and still on the government website to this very day, you can read the main objectives of the war.
Has he said that regime change is one of the goals of the war?
I agree that he's implied it in interviews.
Has he said it explicitly?
In the official memos where he's
that our goal is to protect.
Let me ask you something.
Okay, we gotta pause there. We gotta pause there.
Answer my question. Has Donald Trump said that a goal of the war in Iran is to free the Iranian people by changing the regime of that country, a regime change war in the Middle East of the kind he said he wouldn't fight? Did Donald Trump say that was a goal of the war or not?
I'm going to answer you.
One word
please,
answer.
Please.
I'm going to answer you.
One word answer,
yes,
or we got to move on.
Real quick answer.
No,
one word. He said it in interviews. Yes.
Thank you.
That's a one-word answer?
Thank you.
Prior to October 7th, America First, it still means America First is having a strong ally in Israel. I find it very interesting, this disproportionate, selective outrage with this pseudo-Israel influence. AIPAC, 3.8 million compared to the billions of dollars from other foreign adversaries.
Wait.
Compared to Israel influence, AIPAC, collective outrage with this pseudo-Israel influence. AIPAC, 3.8 million compared to...
Wait, what? I feel like AIPAC's yearly outlays must be more than that. There's no way it's only 3.8 million, right? That would be crazy. It must be greater than that. It has to be more than that. Isn't AIPAC the largest, foreign advocacy lobbying group in the U.S.?
with the billions of dollars from other foreign adversaries. You're talking about Subservient. We have the Chamber of Commerce. We have Big Pharma. We have
Big Pharma?
the Real Estate Association, all massively giving more funds to the lobbying world. The influence of Qatar alone, $1 billion on universities and media. Aren't you more concerned about that? Why do you never speak about the Qatari influence in America?
There's no comparing the influence of Qatar in the United States to Israel. And the proof of that is that we don't give $4 billion automatically a minimum every year to Qatar.
Your Reddit is so gullible they can't even spot your obvious lies. Wait, what did I just say was an obvious lie? Oh, okay. So Israel spent 3 point whatever she's quoting is on lobbying, but contributions are at 52 million. Okay.
Way we do with Israel. This $3.8 billion that you said, much of which has to be spent at American arms manufacturers like Boeing and Raytheon, is like a gift certificate that the American public gives to Israel and says, here, go shopping for yourself at our arms dealers. There's no other country that gets that. We've given vastly more sums to Israel.
We give so much money to other countries. You can look at Egypt. We give
over
a
the
ton of
last
money
several
to them.
decades than any other
We're not
country
even like
by
particularly
far. We deploy
close to
our
that, no?
military for Israel. We don't do that for Qatar. President Trump has been imposing speech codes at universities to protect Israel and not for Qatar. People who demonstrate against Israel are being deported, not for Qatar.
Okay.
And that the amount of money itself, 3.8 is the minimum. That $3.8 billion is the minimum.
Billion?
We gave over $20 billion under President.
Oh wait, he's talking about money that we give to Israel for military spending. I'm sorry, or military aid or whatever. That's the money he's talking about. Sorry.
Biden in
You're not
2024
being
to
honest.
Israel.
You're not being honest.
These are all facts.
Yes, no, they are facts, but you're not saying the whole story.
What
yes,
else?
Israel is the only country that actually gives us a return on investment. That 3.8 billion, yes, 80% of it is invested right
They're the only country?
back into America. America jobs, American defense. And guess who tests out all of our military equipment? It's Israel, because they
Okay, well that's depending on how they're testing it. Not everybody would say they're positive, but okay.
are in the front lines of our enemies. They are doing us a favor. We need Israel strategically, and we are grateful to have them as a strong ally.
The American people have turned against Israel because they're sick of having
No,
their
it's because of
resources.
propaganda that you're perpetuating on X. We didn't have an
if
issue
you
of this
look- if you
before
look at
October
it-
7th.
If you look at American communities, they're falling apart. This was what
And
President Trump.
this is Israel lobby's fault?
It's not entirely the Israel lobby's fault,
Okay,
but we ought to be focused.
Should we talk about
we ought to-
Doge, the
let-
$215 billion in Doge? Maybe we should look at that?
The Israeli people have a higher standard of living than tens of millions of people in the United States, and yet
what
they
does
are
that have to
forced
do with
because
Americans?
Americans are forced to subsidize the Israeli
No,
military
that-
to send tens of billions of dollars to Israel
Wait.
to go to war
so
for
now
Israel.
it's tens of billions of dollars.
Yeah, I just told
No.
you in 2024
No,
alone it was
that's because
above
they were
$20 billion.
Yeah, for the October 7th shit after that, we sent a lot of money for sure, but there's like active conflict. That's not the norm, but
They were in a war.
Exactly. Every time
but
Israel is
that-
at war, Israel's
what
always
do you
at
mean
war.
every time? Israel has never asked for boots on the ground, and yes, they were in a war.
No,
that
we pay for their
Biden
wars.
helped
We pay for their
enact.
wars. We pay for those wars.
Because it's to our interest that there is stability in the Middle East, because these are proxies to America as well.
With the wars that Israel
First
starts create
Saturday,
instability,
then
not stability.
Sunday. Do not normalize terrorism and the Islamic Caliphate. Why are you so hyper-focused on
It's
our
the same
ally?
way that we started off the first question where people say, no, Trump doesn't make wars. And then, okay, Trump makes them, but they're justified. The point here is we do more for the Israeli lobby than any other country. You started off by saying, no,
Because
it's
they're an
Qatar. And now
ally.
you're saying, yes, we do more for Israel,
Because
but
they're an
it's
ally, with
justified.
good reason.
A lot
It is
of
justified.
course, they're an ally and they're an enemy. They spy on us. They steal
Just
our
like
nuclear
America
secrets.
does.
They spy.
You're selectively. You're
Israel is
selective
the
on
number
Israel
one
only. Everyone
surveillance threat
spies on
against,
everyone.
not the way that Israel spies on the United States. When I did the Snowden reporting, there are documents that say here are the countries that are the greatest surveillance threat: China, Russia, Iran. Number one on that is Israel, because they treat us like an enemy. They
do
take our
not
money.
treat us
They
like
sponge
an
off
enemy.
our
This
off
is
our
your
citizenry. They
propaganda. You're
suck
feeding
money
into
out of
Al
our.
Jazeera. I
They
don't-
suck
again,
money out of our country.
You never want to talk about our actual enemies. You only want to talk about Israel.
True.
I think
We gotta-
Israel
we gotta
That is
pause
true.
there.
against the
You've been
United
voted
States
out
and
by the
almost any
majority.
other country on the planet.
Please
That was
return
kinda
to your
true.
seats.
Thank you.
Good job.
Glenn never has shit to say about Qatar, China, or Russia, at least that I've ever seen.
Jesus. So here's the thing. I actually do agree with you that
this
Israel
guy.
does have an outsized influence on our government in general. I think that it's a policy thing that we have to start putting domestic policy ahead of foreign policy. What I don't agree with is your
characterization of it as subservient. I think that implies a greater allegiance to a foreign country than what a president actually has. So let me understand. Tell me some of your reasons why you think it goes beyond influence.
Sure. So for decades in the United States, in both parties, when they had the White House, the policy of the United States has been that the worst thing that the United States has to overcome in the Middle East, when doing deals in the Middle East, when trying to advance our interests in the Middle East, is the fact that the Palestinians do not have a state. And the only way that the United States can ever improve its position in the Middle East is through a two-state solution. That's why, going back to the first Bush administration, back to the Reagan administration, they were threatening Israel. They were indignant with the Israelis that they were expanding settlements in the West Bank, because that would forever prevent a two-state solution, would mean that we were seen in the Middle East as suppressing the Palestinians. Israel ignored that. They expanded West Bank settlements. When the first Bush administration tried to stop it, Bill Clinton ran in 1992 accusing Bush 41 of being an anti-Semite. And ever since then, when that harsh accusatory framework came down on James Baker and George Bush and Brent Scowcroft as anti-Semites, American presidents, with some exceptions, have been petrified of opposing Israel and the Israel lobby. They can remove members of Congress like no other lobby can. They've proven that repeatedly. And so it's not just that they're our ally and we help them when it's in our interest, we help them even when it's contrary to our interests, as we're doing right now with this war.
Well, yeah, you just kind of danced around it. You didn't actually say what characterizes Trump's behavior as subservient.
When you take, let me just quickly,
let me say one thing.
You want to know?
No, but let me say one thing.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
actually
let him
do
say one
relate
thing.
a lot to what you're saying, being called an anti-Semite. I'm running for Congress in Hollywood, Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena.
Oh, boy.
The thing that I got labeled for criticizing Israel, the Israeli lobby, and the government of Israel, to be fair, I got immediately labeled an anti-Semite by my own party, by the Republican Party. But I want to understand what makes Trump subservient, what makes the influence go beyond just influence and makes him have a greater allegiance to Israel than America. You haven't answered that.
By subservience, I mean when you take interests that are in the interest of another country over your own. And subservient, are you saying why is he subservient?
No,
like what
I'm trying to
causes that?
understand
Or
your
what do
logic,
you mean
because
by subservient?
what you've described so far is influence, which we all agree there's a foreign influence in our government that's outsized, and it very often drives our politics and our politicians to go beyond the interests of Americans. But that doesn't mean that they have a greater allegiance to a foreign government than they do to their own people.
I'm not saying President Trump has a greater allegiance to Israel than he does to the United States. I'm saying that the lobby that influences him, that he's afraid of, that he takes direction from, their goal is to make sure that American politicians are serving the interest of Israel even above the interest of the United States, even when it undermines or subverts the interest of the United States. That is the point of the Israel lobby, is to make sure that Israeli interests
you're talking
stay
about the
above.
Israel lobby.
All right, we got to pause there. You've been voted out.
Good luck in your campaign.
Thank you.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'm Eden. Okay, so when you're talking about the Israel lobby, are you referring mostly to AIPAC? Or?
No, I mean, I'm
glasses are coming off.
certainly referring to AIPAC, but there's a gigantic number of other organs and arms of the Israeli lobby.
Right, and can you give examples where they're going outside of legal bounds?
No, I don't. My accusation is not that AIPAC acts illegally. I do think there's a good argument that they ought to be registered under FARA, but under our laws, they're not required
Okay, so
to.
with the FARA argument, you do know that it's American Jewish interests, right? The lobby AIPAC is for American Jewish interests. So
AIPAC
to
takes
say that it's
direction
going
from the Israeli government.
That's never been proven before. You have to prove that. This is always like kind of just given as a truism or whatever, but nobody ever sustains it. But like, if that was true, then it would be conducting itself in an illegal manner. If you can demonstrate that it takes direction from the Israeli government, then you would have a strong case here. But to just say that, you're basically just declaring that they're doing an illegal action, which of course makes it bad by default, but I don't think it's ever been proven in any way.
Over there all the time. I understand the argument that these are Americans, but but a lot of Americans have to register under FARA if they're taking directions from or acting on behalf of a foreign government, which I think AIPAC is. But I'm not arguing that AIPAC is criminal.
Right.
That's a different debate.
Okay.
We can have that, but that's not the relevant question.
So I hear this argument a lot. And what I always go back to is America is voting with their dollar, okay? So yeah, there is influence, right? There is Jewish American influence, but it is because the American people want it. That's why AIPAC is so successful.
Okay, I'm glad you raised that, because actually what AIPAC does when they want to remove a member from Congress, like they did with Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman in the last cycle, like they've done with tons of them, is they spend insane amounts of money for a congressional district, like they're doing with Thomas Massie now. They don't go in and advertise and say this member of Congress isn't sufficiently supportive of Israel or is too anti-Israel, because they know that's a failing issue, because Americans don't care about foreign countries. They care about their own country like every other country.
Right.
What they do is they go in and they deceive people by saying our ads are really about the fact that he doesn't tend to potholes, or he has bad constituent services, or he doesn't support healthcare, or he's too
And are they
this or he's
lying
too
about
that.
Are they lying about it?
No, it's just
so they're choosing to focus on other issues. And these are issues that America.
Oh fuck. She's correct here. That's not really bad. You could argue that it might feel a little bit duplicitous or maybe a little bit dishonest, but like if I really didn't want a politician to win in some district because I thought there'd be a bad vote, for the Congress, if I was going to go and run ads in that district, I'd be running ads on what I think the people care about. I wouldn't be running ads on my particular issue. That's a fair point to bring up.
No, it's just
so they're choosing to focus on other issues. And these are issues that Americans
It's exactly
care
the
about.
opposite of what you said, which
Okay,
is that
so-
they go
so
in
basically
and the
you're saying
reason why
they
you said the
focus on
reason why
other-
people vote for AIPAC's candidates is because they want support for Israel.
Well, you
But
know what? If they
AIPAC
raise
doesn't
the
think that
pothole
AIPAC
issue
doesn't-
and this candidate says that they're going to.
But that's not AIPAC's
then
concern. It's a totally stealth and
AIPAC
deceitful
can
campaign.
put their money wherever they want.
I know. I'm not arguing that AIPAC is a criminal organization. I'm not
Okay.
arguing that they should be in prison.
Okay.
I'm arguing that the
So you're
point of
kinda
the
saying there's
Israel
some
lobby is to
nefarious
keep. Yes, it
things
is
going on.
nefarious because the point is to in the shadows hide their
And
agenda,
see,
which
this
is to
is super
keep American
convenient.
politician subservient and captive
Okay,
to the
yeah.
interests
So
of
you
a foreign
always have
country.
to. You have to always have to revert to the conspiracy idea.
It's not a conspiracy.
It
It's
is a
done right out in the
conspiracy
open.
idea.
I don't think it's
you
a conspiracy.
You always have to go back to the conspiracy
I don't think
idea
it's a
because you
conspiracy.
can't deal
It's
with
in
the
the
fact
open.
that American Jews are voting for this.
American
okay?
Jews,
American
all right,
Jews
do you know
are
what
putting their
percentage of
money
America? Do you know what
where they
percentage of
want it to
America?
go.
Yes, and you're free to do that. You're free to donate to
Okay.
whatever campaign
Look,
you want. So am I.
You can
There's
make
no
an argument that
there.
we can reform the lobby system. Okay, that's fair, but Americans are voting with their dollar,
The
and this
difference
is the way that
between
they're
the
voting.
pharma lobby and the Wall Street lobby and the Silicon Valley lobby, which are gigantic,
Which are pouring
is
a
that
lot
they're
more
at
money
least
in, so
American
that's a huge
companies.
difference.
There's no other lobby that represents a foreign country that has even 1/100th of the impact that
First
the
of all,
Israel lobby has, and that's what makes it so
representing
different
an ally,
and so dangerous.
An ally. Jewish Americans have a vested interest in Israel. Okay, they're also
Why?
our ally.
What do you mean? Why do
well,
they have
a lot
that?
of some don't. Like you, right? You're Jewish.
Yeah, I don't- yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like you. So some do, some don't. Okay.
Right. Lobby has, and that's what makes it so
Representing
different
an ally,
and so dangerous.
An ally. Jewish Americans have a vested interest in Israel. Okay, they're also
Why?
our ally.
What do you mean? Why do
well,
they have
a lot
that?
of some don't. Like you, right? You're
Yeah,
Jewish.
I don't-
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like you. So some do, some don't.
Right,
Okay.
right.
If some do, they can vote with their dollar. They're already our
So you're
allies.
saying a
so
lot
what's
of
wrong
Jews
with
have
that?
a vested interest in a foreign country?
Yes.
In
Uh-oh.
How do they? President Trump said about Miriam Adelson, for example, who's a citizen of Israel,
Not the
and
dual
United
loyalty.
States, that he believes she has a greater loyalty to Israel. She would choose Israel when the two are in conflict. Would that
and
be
that's
your
a
choice
problem.
as well?
And I've heard other people say they have different they care more about other countries they're born in as well.
Right,
So,
but it's
like,
kind
I
of a
don't-
problem that
I don't
the
see
single
point.
richest and
we can police
most
that.
powerful
We can put in legislation
Israeli
to
American
stop
is
that.
somebody who's
the point.
in the White House all the time, according to President Trump, has more loyalty to a foreign country than she does to the American to the
All
United
right,
States.
so
That's
kick
a pretty
her out.
gigantic
What-
problem.
so what?
She kick her out. President Trump has her in the White House every other week because of
Okay,
the
well,
vast
she's not
amount of
doing
money
anything
that she,
illegal. So
that's
what's
what-
the problem? You have a problem with the motivation.
A lot of
okay,
things
so
aren't
we can't
illegal
just
that you can
police
still
everybody's
criticize.
motivations.
There are a lot of things that aren't illegal that still should be criticized and dragged out into the sunlight.
So let's
and the
criticize
influence
it.
of
But the whole
that I am.
is this whole AIPAC is this nefarious grand puppet master thing is absolutely debunkable. Okay. AIPAC sometimes does not win. I mean, we saw with in 2015 the JCPOA the situation.
I agree. They don't always get their way. They get their way almost all the time, most of the time, and that is a huge
Again,
problem.
America's voting with their dollar. So
okay.
All right, we got to pause there. We are out of time.
Pause.
Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Want to be in a Jubilee video? We are always on the lookout
Jubilee?
for smart,
Seriously?
engaged, and passionate people who are ready to join the conversation. Go to jubileemedia.com/casting for an up-to-date list of episodes currently casting. If you don't see something that's right for you, you can tell us about yourself by filling out our quick open casting application using the link in the description.
My next round.
Wait. Quick main break. What is this? New Trump Truth Social. If Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone, admits and resting at the bottom of the sea, and their air force is no longer with us, and if their entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each shouting, I surrender, while wildly waving the representative white flag, and if their entire remaining leadership signs all necessary documents of surrender, and admit their defeat to the great powers and force of the magnificent USA, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journal, corrupt and now irrelevant CNN, and all other members of the fake news media will headline that Iran had a masterful and brilliant victory over the United States of America. It wasn't even close. The Democrats, is that supposed to be Democrats or Democrats? The Democrats and media have totally lost their way. They've gone absolutely crazy. President Donald J. Trump. Jesus Christ.
I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country.
Oh, it's just all fraud. That's where all the extra dollar cuts are coming from. Thank God. Okay, this guy is unfathomably based every single time he speaks. This is my new spirit animal, JVL, okay?
All right, so I want to bring us back to the slush fund, because where we started on this was the idea that the law simply wasn't prepared for something like this.
True.
This is where we started. And among the many things that the more I think about my enshittification piece, which nobody read.
I read it. It was so good.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that because it's right. This is one of the pieces that 2 years from now, I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to be like, why did this only get 900 likes? This was an important piece. I don't think it is possible in a liberal society
to make laws for people who want to be a bad faith. Yes. True. Oh my God, he's about to say it. Oh my God. Oh my God, he's about to give the take.
To anticipate and pre-legislate against things like this slush fund. Just staring at, you know what I mean? And this is a very founders aspect, right? I mean, if you go back, there's a bunch of stuff written about how, at the early parts of it, once virtue leaves the society, liberal governance really can't work.
True.
Right? I mean, because you need virtue, you need shared ideas of virtue.
And a good faith engagement with the system.
Do all the things that laws simply can't do.
Yeah.
Because you can't make enough laws.
True.
Right? You can't legislate everything. And this is the kind of if people don't have revulsion about this and don't look at this and say, this is no way to run a railroad. You can't do this. And they're not, spoiler, they're not going to. It really does mean that the whole system has sort of started breaking apart.
Yep.
Because you can't
do anything about it.
So what? We're going to pass a law saying that
no bad faith actors, no misusing words the wrong way to make dumb things happen.
The president can't sue his own government and then sit on the other side of the transaction and create unaccountable I mean, I guess.
What a stupid... I would never play that game, or I would never be a part of that country. Tell me what the laws are. Well, here, we have a law right here that says, this law says that police officers aren't allowed to rape civilians. It's is that... absent that law, are they allowed to? Do they have special protections? Wait, why the fuck do you even need that law? That's kind of crazy, no? What's this other law here? The president is not allowed to use nuclear weapons against blue states. Was that a thing he was considering? Is that part of the... What? Okay. Okay. Can he use them against red states?
You could do something like that, but then he'll do things like
whatever.
The president will... Anybody who's running for president will preemptively launch libel suits without merit against all sorts of well-to-do companies, so that if he wins, he is then sitting on what are vehicles to siphon off tens or hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements.
Yep,
right?
kind of crazy. Not good.
The corruption is so widespread.
Isn't it billions?
I just don't see a way out of this. Do you? Because this is where we started. We started by talking about with the Andrew Weissman, Andrew says, hey, we can do some things to reform the laws to head this off. And I think ultimately we can't. If you can do some things, but the corruption is always going to find it's like water, right? It always seeks its own level. And if voters aren't repelled by this,
you're fucked.
Our ability to fix that problem with laws is nothing but band-aids.
True.
Okay. So this is why I wrote the whole book. because I do think there's a way out of this. I do think it involves persuasion. I do think it involves destroying Donald Trump's credibility. I think that, look.
Good cut. We don't care. No, I'm just kidding. That's mean. And then this is where Democrats came from. Hold on.
And it's all in the blue cities, you know, it's all blue. The 25 worst cities are blue. Blue means Democrat. That's a new name I came up with. You've never heard. I was thinking about this
Wait, when was this? How old is this?
character we have in the House. His name is Hakeem Jeffries.
Like a week ago? Why the fuck is he still out giving like campaign speeches? Can you rule? Like figure out like how to end the war and like what are you doing?
And he's a low IQ person, very low IQ.
Why is our president? He can't even run again theoretically. Why is he doing campaign rallies? What?
And I watched what he was saying and what the horrible things he was saying, and I said, he's a dumb guy. I said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. That's how I got the name. You take the E out, you don't use the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B in it, actually. You don't need it. You discard the B. But you take the E out, and you replace it with a U. They're dumb. They are Democrats.
That's freaking epic.
Their policies are dumb.
That's freaking
Their
epic,
policies
bro.
are very dumb. And it's all in the blue cities.
That's our president. Freaking epic.
Problem we have in
Last meme.
America is conservatives think the liberals are insane, and they're not completely wrong. Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are. And their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson.
This is unfortunately there's a tinge of truth to this, unfortunately. Although it's not the big problem right now, but that is a little bit unfortunate.
A genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense.
Now, when they said that Scientific American and the Atlantic were saying this, are these like official position
Opinion pieces?
Yeah, although I'm trying to think if it would matter if these were op-eds. Fuck, they're stupid articles, but I don't know.
Yes, it does. Actually, it makes...
I'm also curious if, I mean, the answer is no, but I'm wondering, did he read the article? What were the arguments they were making?
Perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does.
Clapper.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing...
Oh, wait, did we read this a long time ago? I don't remember if we did or didn't. Oh, until I go back over this.
Doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it. Homelessness is a lifestyle. Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. Penises in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it. And so, folks, if we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add.
Clapper. Oh my God, he's fucking in him right now. Hell yeah.
You can't just say shit. Math is racist. Queers for Palestine. Looting is cool. Healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say I mean, you can, but it doesn't make it true because you're not Harry Potter.
That was frickin' epic. Okay.
Smug self-righteousness in the defense of some of the dumbest ideas to ever come down the pike is not a formula that's really working for you. Because here's one thing I can promise every liberal in this country. The Democrats can win every election from now until forever. And the people who now hold the reins of power... the reins of power...
Oh, he's pointing. Okay.
will not give a shit and will not give it back if they think you're still nutty.
Okay. Frickin' epic. I'm a bit behind. I agree that you can't legislate against bad faith actors directly, but isn't there something to be said about designing a system where competing interests have balancing powers? Like the two-party system ensures the legislature can sometimes be controlled by the same party as the executive, but there doesn't seem to be anything in the system to balance that. Well, what do you mean? We've got literally 2 different chambers of Congress. The problem is that right now, everybody on the Republican side in Congress is like super happy to just dick slurp the president. So like Congress is supposed to be a check on the president's power, but all the Republicans have given that power up. So what do? How do you change that? I mean, if they don't give a fuck, then...
They don't care, man.
Yeah,
they don't give a fuck.
What are you going to
dude.
design there? What are you going to do?
What do you want? What do you want?
Is the Trump administration has been considerably more corrupt than the Biden administration.
Uh-oh.
All right, if you'd like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
Hello there.
Oh boy.
There's so many things I could talk for hours on end. Even giving Kamala Harris an appointation of, I don't know if that's a word, but appointing her as the next candidate because he wasn't able to run. And you're America first, right? That's what you're saying, right? Okay, so do you agree that it was corrupt?
So I'm somebody who believes that there was a lot of corruption in the Biden administration. My claim is not that the Biden administration was free of meaningful corruption. It had a lot of corruption. My claim is that the Trump administration has a lot more corruption. And we can talk about what those financial deals
please?
are. Okay, well, I'll just give you one example.
Okay.
Jared Kushner, who's now running Middle East foreign policy and negotiating Middle East policy for Donald Trump, his son-in-law.
And doing a great job.
Right before he was put into that position just a year or so earlier, he created a hedge fund.
He should have stopped himself and
the
said,
number
what has
one
Jared Kushner done? Name one thing.
True. If she knows anything, she'd say Abraham Accords, but true.
Were the Saudis who invested $2 billion in Jared Kushner's fund, both as a reward for a job well done, for the service that the Trump administration in the first term gave to the Saudis, and also for making sure that the Saudis' interests are protected. It's basically a bribe directly to the Trump family. The Trump family created a crypto company called World Liberty Financial, 49% of which is now owned by the United Arab Emirates. We've heard so much here about how important the UAE is, about how Saudi Arabia is, and they're funneling gigantic sums of money directly to the Trump family.
Okay, but look at, I just want to interject a little bit because look at Nancy Pelosi, look at all the inside trading.
I agree with you completely.
It goes way beyond that.
No, that's
so
not
both
way beyond
sides
that.
do it. Is it right? No, but Biden administration and all of the people on the Democratic side are doing it so much worse on such a larger scale.
Larger scale?
It's affecting America.
Dollar amounts, please.
I worked a lot on the Hunter Biden corruption case, principally that he got $50,000 a month from a company in Ukraine called Burisma when Vice President Biden had immense influence in Ukraine.
It was way more than that.
And as Andy McCarthy said, who's a longtime Republican conservative prosecutor, in order to talk about or compare the corruption, similar corruption by the Trump sons and by Jared Kushner, you have to add 2 zeros to the amounts. And I think that's what the concern is.
Biden was so corrupt.
What?
She didn't even get a chance.
What was the point of this? Okay, well, Jesus.
Move on. Thank you. You've been
Thank you.
voted
It's
out.
actually fun doing this.
Fun doing that. She didn't even say anything.
She said 2 fucking sentences.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So I think that we can see corruption pretty, well in the Biden administration. You've got Joe Biden's drug addict son that got convicted.
Bro, the size of this chain. Oh my God.
Says him.
True.
On gun
Whoa, what do you
charges.
mean by that, Mooten?
He looks like a fucking...
Wow. 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 Wow.
Is on tax evasion charges, and Joe Biden used his pardoning power to erase that completely. But I think that we can see corruption in its finest when you have a senile old man like Joe Biden who is getting propped up and is basically a puppet for the Democratic Party.
So I think when we talk about corruption, we're not talking generally about just bad acts or malfeasance in government. We're generally talking about the influence of ill-gotten gains or malicious motives or self-interested motives in government decisions. What made Hunter Biden, the Hunter Biden case, corrupt was not his drug addiction or his tax evasion. Those were personal bad acts on his part.
Well, it's a bad use of it's a bad use of the pardoning power for Joe Biden to do that. It shows clear corruption.
Yeah, I mean, President Trump has pardoned dozens of people, all of whom are very wealthy, who stole money from investors, who have friends that are very close to the Trump administration. There's a whole pardon industry surrounding the Trump White House where if you have enough money and you can pay $1 million or $1.5 million or $2 million to close Trump associates, you will get a pardon. But the problem with the Hunter Biden case, what made that so concerning
never been proven,
was
right?
that he was...
What?
That if you give Trump $2 million, he'll pardon you.
I mean, the one example I can think of, remember the rolling truck thing?
The rolling truck thing? No?
Electric vehicle scam Trump pardon. Trevor Milton. So for Trevor Milton, this was a guy who, like, the joke was that this was the truck they advertised.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. This truck was rolling, okay? Like, literally.
Yeah.
They never got this working. Defrauded a bunch of people on this. Sentenced to 4 years in prison, $1 million fine to the U.S. government, $168 million in restitution to be paid to people that he scammed.
Yep.
So Donald Trump completely pardoned this guy, and I think he forgave the amounts that he was even owed. As a result of the pardon, Milton did not need to compensate Nikola shareholders. But kind of a weird thing was a month prior to the 2024 presidential elections, Milton and his wife donated about $2 million to fund Donald Trump's reelection. Also, one of his defense lawyers was Brad Bondi, who is Pam Bondi's brother.
Husband or brother.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, all right.
So,
as Connor would say, you know, where's the hard evidence, Stephen? Where's the
Drew, where's the email?
Where's the email? Where's the check?
Drew.
Monetizing the influence that Joe Biden had in Ukraine in order to get all kinds of money for himself. This is what Donald Trump Jr. is doing, Eric Trump is doing, and especially Jared Kushner is doing in the region of the world that President Trump has been most influential, which is the Persian Gulf, where there's the most amount of money. Billions of dollars have flowed to the Trump family through properties and entities that they've created, including World Liberty Financial, including Jared Kushner's. Does that not concern you the way it did with Hunter Biden?
I'm not.
Talking about billions of dollars.
know anything about that.
Well, I mean, the HOC did report that the Biden family received $24 to $27 million.
I'm talking about billions. Again,
yeah, we're talking about billions. So basically, you're
euros.
just basically saying that Trump was better at being.
No, I'm saying it's great. It's more damaging corruption.
So you're criticizing Trump for being more of a businessman, a better businessman than Joe Biden.
It's like saying, oh, that guy stole a Milky Way and that guy defrauded billions of dollars from old ladies, so this guy's better than this one at being a crook, being a corrupt criminal. Yes, I do think Trump's better at that.
Yeah, I mean, corruption is similar as far as how he's monetized.
What are we doing? Why are these guys getting
voted out?
pulled off so fast? What the fuck?
Someone in chat said women get voted off way quicker than men.
Oh, somebody should do the analysis.
Good, Lee.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. So you're saying that Trump is more corrupt than Joe Biden?
I wouldn't even.
You can barely form a fucking.
Whoa! You need to. Excuse me, Mister. Actually, Ohio counts as the Midwest. I need you to chill because I'm detecting.
It does.
Yeah. Then I need you to be more sensitive to our Midwestern brothers and sisters.
This is not a Midwestern accent, man. This is a fucking Southern accent.
Their Midwest is basically the South Light. Okay, so I need you to.
Okay.
I need you to calm it down because I'm detecting a lot of not good stuff from you. You need to chill. Okay. You need to fucking chill.
That's what you're saying?
Play the video.
I'm saying the Trump administration has a lot more corruption than the Biden administration has.
Okay, I'm guessing by what, the war or his kids or what?
I think we're focused primarily
Sorry.
on financial corruption. I mean, you can talk about
Financial.
other kinds of corruption as well, but the concern about Hunter Biden and the money that he made off his father's influence, which I found extremely objectionable and still do, pales in comparison to
Yeah.
the extreme fortune that the Trump kids and Jared Kushner are building off of Trump's power.
Okay, well, Trump is not corrupted at all. We're not in a war
What?
as well.
What about that was so funny? Fuck you.
Not corrupted.
Sorry, there's so many. I wanted to answer you on so.
Fuck me. Oh my God. You understand? Trump is gistical, and these are the people that he sends out to debate. This is Dickers. That's what this is. This is bull, right? You never get to the actual people.
At all. We're not in a war as well. Sorry, there's so many. I wanted to answer you on so
we
many
in a war or
things.
not? What?
But you're not being specific about how it's Trump, his administration corrupted. What exactly? Because his kids aren't the administration. It's just Donald Trump. So how is
Well, Hunter Biden wasn't the Biden administration, but it was just the
I
president's
don't
stuff.
care about Joe Biden. I want to go on. You're saying Trump, okay? Trump administration. How is he more corrupt?
It's a comparison between the Biden administration. But
Say
I'll
what
tell
the most corrupt thing that Trump has done.
I'll tell you what there's a lot of things, but the main one is
Crypto.
They created a company shortly before Trump.
World Liberty Financial, is that what it's called?
Trump's inauguration. That's a crypto company called World Financial Liberty.
No, that's not-
you got if you want.
No. He's like.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's the first time I'm hearing of it.
How? I know why, because Fox has probably literally never uttered these three words together ever in the past year and a half on their entire media network, and none of these people have talked about it. But
If you want me to explain, I can explain it, but you got to let me explain.
So you're saying that he's corrupt that in a way that
I'll
he can get in
explain.
trouble, just like Hunter Biden
I'll
got in trouble.
explain. There's the World Financial Liberty, which is the
Hunter Biden didn't get in trouble for any of the quote unquote corruption, by the way. That's not true, but okay.
crypto company.
Is that because he got a pardon, or is that because he didn't do it and he was
invested
found
hundreds of billions of dollars?
It's not guilty.
No, because he wasn't. They didn't find enough to charge him. I don't think they indicted him for any of that. The only thing they got him on in the end was because in his book he wrote that he was
Like a
doing
gun
cracking at the
thing?
gun. Yeah, it was a gun thing, and it was past due taxes that he'd already paid off. Those are the two criminal charges for Hunter Biden. He was not pardoned for anything related to do with fucking Burisma or any other bullshit. Because even though they were investigating for year after year after year after year after year for that bullshit, they didn't find fucking anything, nothing. Despite
Wait,
Jordan.
so question then.
What?
You're saying he wasn't pardoned for anything to do with Burisma, but aren't pardons usually blanket pardons?
Not usually,
Or did-
but they've started to become that way. I don't know if Biden was the first one to do it, but yeah.
Okay.
But no, he was nothing to do with Burisma. They didn't find fuck all for that, despite their promises that they were going to.
Dollars in that has 49% ownership that paid a huge amount of money to enrich President Trump. On top of that, he created this coin, the Trump coin, where any foreign influencers or
This
foreign
guy don't
power
wanna hear
can
about
pour
this
as much
shit.
money as they want into Donald Trump's pocket and have done so.
Are you
And of
aware that
course
Trump?
he's doing
Are
it
you
through
aware
his
that Trump
children.
doesn't take? Never has took his presidential checks. Are you?
Bro, if I was like a Ukrainian watching this guy, or if I was like a fucking Palestinian or whatever watching this dude, and I'm like, this is the guy condemning me to my fate. Oh man, I just don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do.
Oh hell no!
Jesus.
He's given up all.
Yes, that's
Oh,
congratulations.
that's just $400,500. That's it. Okay. Are you?
Whatever, man.
Are you aware that he's given up all his everything he owns?
What is he talking about?
His
Trump's
motels,
an
his hotels,
infinitely
everything.
richer man now than he was when he saw
Are
the
you
presidency
jealous
in
of that, or
2016.
like his?
Oh, wait, this guy's like fuck. Hold up.
Waiting. Oh, he's corn popping.
No.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, he's corn popping out. All right. Bet you go, old man.
Tell me that this guy isn't in a no, he is. I'm 100% right. I know I'm 100% right.
Waiting.
He is an infiltrator. Wait. Wait. Fuck. I gotta find some more recent. Hold on.
This is pathetic, man.
Stop! Don't worry, they'll cut it in the Spotify upload.
Oh,
true. It'll seem like I instantly got it, and then someone in chat will.
Ark, fix this in post.
Tell me that this guy doesn't remind you of this guy.
What's up, man? How you been? Bro, I've been great. I've been eating a lot healthier. Yo, for real? I've been on that keto grind. Okay, look at you. Lost a little bit of weight. Okay, wow. You know. Yeah, I've been trying that carnivore diet.
You know what?
Okay, yeah. Carnivore diet.
I've seen
grass-fed
the
ribeyes
nose.
only, actually. Okay.
And then the sweaty lips and the...
Except some days, I just eat whatever.
But not the
Pancakes.
eyes or like the top
Well,
of the head.
that's, it's because he's wearing a hat.
Usually when I fast.
It can't be perfect, yeah. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Fast once a week. Sundays
Your
and
leader
Wednesdays.
isn't corn
Just
popping.
mental clarity.
Thank you, true.
He's president? Is that jealousy or something? Are you jealous of?
Oh, and they're
Are you
clapping.
jealous of that? Or like
2016.
because he's president? Is that jealousy or something? Are you jealous of that? That he knows what to do with his money and he knows how to do it?
Were you a critic of Joe
He
Biden?
is not
Were you a
corrupt.
critic of
He's
Joe
not even
Biden?
close to corrupt. And you know what? You want to know what you're doing right now? You're saying that I saw you corrected yourself. You were saying Trump to the other people, but now you're talking to me and you said Trump administration.
Oh,
So
this guy's on a roll now. Oh man.
The formulation is the Trump administration has been significantly more corrupt than the Biden administration.
Yes, but
That's
you
what
were
it's been
saying
from the
Trump,
start.
and then you were talking to them saying Trump, and now you're saying Trump administration.
I'm saying both. I explained to you how
Okay.
Donald Trump was corrupt.
Okay, so Trump is not the Trump is Trump. So you think he's in control of
You know what the
whatever
dumbest part
happens
is?
on
this
something?
guy has a chance to be the next CIA director
Shut
because
the
of how he
fuck
did on
up.
this. He
Now for
does,
The
dude.
company that received hundreds of billions of dollars from the UAE is Trump's
and that's all
company.
Trump's fault.
Trump's company. He created the company with Steve Witkoff, with Steve Witkoff's
Is that
kids.
Trump's fault? Yes or no?
Yes, of course it's Trump's fault. He was the
How?
one who created the company.
How is it Trump's fault?
Because Trump is the one who received all that money and now is in bed with the UAE. It's exactly the kind of quid
So
pro
are you
quo
saying
that
he should
Trump
be
is
arrested
for.
right
We got to pause
You're
there.
saying he should be
No,
arrested?
I don't think. I
So
think
how's
it
that
should be.
corruption?
We got to pause there. You've been voted out.
Oh, and they're clapping for him. Oh, he got kind of owned, to be fair.
Good to see you
Good
again.
to see you again. How are you?
Good.
Oh, this
As
guy.
I've been listening, I've been writing down all the areas of corruption that I could think of from the Biden administration. And so what you have to prove is that what Trump has done is greater than all of
considerably
this.
more, exactly.
Right.
Sounds a little
So
like
you
Mockler.
have Biden's auto pen where he's
Ooh.
just signing legislation without
They dropped the auto pen investigation, by the way. That was made up, asserted
Yep,
with zero
that's done.
evidence. Asserted with zero
See
evidence,
ya.
dismissed, by the way.
actually not knowing what it actually is.
How do you know what
you
you
have?
knew? How do
You
you-
have
well,
OSHA. Well,
let's go
let me.
through
Let me.
this.
Well,
Do you want to-
hold on. Let
we-
me list.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
You
Let me
have-
rattle off a whole bunch of fucking points, and hopefully then they vote me off and I don't have to address any of them.
You have OSHA, where he tried to cram down vaccine mandates on working Americans unconstitutionally. You have $400 billion in COVID fraud during the Biden administration. You have Hunter Biden.
Excuse me, wasn't most of the quote-unquote COVID fraud a result of what was it called? The PPP stuff, which was a Trump program?
I know you agree with that, so don't need to go into that too much. You have millions of illegal immigrants entering in the country and changing the voter base. You have free college. He tried to do that unconstitutionally. You have Burisma. He went after Trump illegally through different court cases. And you'll love this one. You know how much, you know who is the greatest senator who have taken the most amount of money from AIPAC? Joe Biden.
Yeah, of course. Joe Biden's a fanatical. I know that.
$4.2 million.
I'm curious if that's true, number one. But number two, Joe Biden was a senator for like fucking 40 years. Well, like, so what is that? Is that like averages out to 40,000 a year? No, I fucked math up on that so bad. Sorry. Shut the fuck up, Mooten. It'd be 100,000 a year on average.
No,
No.
Trump.
10,000. Sorry. I boomed so hard. Wait. No, I was right. It was 100,000. He said 4 million, 40 years. Fuck
Trump
you.
has gotten more from the pro-Israel lobby, but Joe Biden has spent his entire career in captivity to Israel. So, but
Captivity.
So
I
your
think-
burden is
but-
to
but
prove
let me-
that
let me
Trump, everything
Okay.
that Trump has done outweighs all those.
Have
other
you heard, I think there's an issue with corruption and what that means and what
Sure.
that includes and doesn't.
Sure.
But it's not every bad act. But let's just leave that to the side for a minute.
Okay.
You sat here and you've heard me list all of the different ways in which Trump, his sons, and Jared Kushner have built a multi-billion-dollar personal fortune by trading on their power. You've
And?
heard all those. I'm not saying you agree with them, but
And?
you've heard me outline those, correct?
I've heard you outline.
Do you
them, yeah,
agree
yeah.
or disagree with the claims that I've made about those?
Well, what I want to get to is
no, I know,
your
but we're
actual
building
claim.
a comparison. So I heard you.
Sure,
what you
sure.
put in
So
the
why
Biden
don't you
column,
go ahead
so-
and list
but
all the multiple things,
well,
right?
so
because
I have.
because you know
I have. So
Maurice,
I'm asking
you know
you.
the corruption there, right? Okay, so then now go ahead and
No,
list
no,
all the other things.
I
that
just
Biden
I
has
just
done.
got done saying to you that while you were sitting behind me for the last 15 minutes, I've listed 6 or 7 different ways.
What did you heard that? 6 or 7? 6 or 7?
You were sitting behind me for the last 15 minutes. I've listed 6 or 7 different ways
Limfeo,
in which
bro.
Trump, his
Keep get him
sons,
outta here.
and Jared Kushner have built a multi-billion-dollar personal fortune by trading on his personal power. I don't think there are things that compare in the Biden administration to the level of personal corruption. And what I'm asking you is whether you
don't think going after your political opponents
I'm asking you is whether you
illegally.
think
You don't think
Trump has gone after his political
Illegally.
opponents as well. He tried to indict James Comey. He tried to indict Letitia James, and even the grand juries threw them out. But I'm asking you about the examples that I listed. Do you think I've accurately described the personal corruption of
I'm
Trump,
saying
his
even
son?
if I grant your
no, but
premise,
I don't
even if
want
I
you to
grant
grant
that-
it. I want to know if you think I've accurately described it, because we're talking
even
about
if I
billions
grant-
of dollars in personal wealth.
Glenn.
And if you think the corruption
Glenn.
is worse in the Biden administration, tell me the billions of with all of the
Glenn,
examples
I want
you
you
named.
to defend your
do you
claim.
think?
Ooh.
Do you
I want
think
you to
that-
defend the claim that you're making.
I'm defending it. So Jared Kushner created a vulture capital fund, an investment fund, in which the primary investors were the Saudis, who invested $2 billion into Jared Kushner's personal fund. The Emiratis have invested hundreds of millions of dollars as well. Donald Trump, his sons, Steve Witkoff, and his sons created a crypto company that the UAE has devoted hundreds of billions of dollars to, and then bought a 49% stake share in. The Qataris have done the same. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump just created a new drone company that they're now selling to the Pentagon and getting contracts from the Pentagon that will further personally enrich the Trump family. We're talking about a level, billions and billions of dollars in personal wealth that did not exist before Donald Trump entered the presidency, that now exists in his family by virtue of these deals with the exact countries on which he wields the most influence.
There's 2 points I want to make. Okay,
Yeah.
So first off,
Go ahead.
Right? Even let's say I grant all of that.
Yes.
Let's say I grant
Because
all
it's
of
true.
That. No, let's say I grant all of that. That still doesn't prove your claim. I brought up a whole list of things that Biden
How much
has
money
done that's
did
corrupt.
Biden and his
Can I
family
make my
make?
second point?
But how much?
Can I make my second point?
Yeah,
Can I
go
make
ahead.
my second point? Okay. Are American citizens not free to pursue business activities outside political
No,
office?
no, they're
Can
not.
Obama
God.
not pursue a
They're
Netflix
conflicts of
deal?
interest.
Can Obama not pursue book deals
Once
with
he's
other
out of
people?
office, he can. Once he's served 2 terms and is out of office.
Was Trump in office when this was happening?
Yes,
Oh
the
my
World
God.
Financial Liberty Company was created in the transition after he won the election and before he was inaugurated. 4 days before he was inaugurated.
Oh, so he wasn't even in
created
office
that
yet
crypto
then.
company into
Say
which
it. You know
hundreds
you
of
wanna say
billions
it,
of dollars
Caleb.
of
Say
foreign
it.
money have
Say it.
flowed, enriching the Trump family. I don't think you know about these transactions. I don't think there's things people have brought up that I don't know about. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying I think you ought to go
Again,
and look
you're
at
just
those
not
transactions.
defending. You're just not defending your claim. Again, even if I would grant
I'll
you
leave
all
it to
of
the
that,
audience to decide if I've defended
even if
the
I
claim.
grant you all of that, you still
we gotta
have not
pause
addressed
there.
anything about Biden. You
We gotta
refuse
pause
to do
there.
so.
But what about Biden?
One of these guys is going to bring up the killer argument. I can feel it, okay?
All right.
Good to meet you. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So you mentioned Donald Trump's crypto endeavor. So could you tell me a little bit more about that and how that makes him corrupt?
Sure.
Wait, you
There's
debated this guy,
actually
right?
Yeah, him and that Deaf Noodles dude. They're both a little bit.
Say it.
Whoa!
Constitutional prohibition on political
Whoa.
leaders accepting or receiving gifts
Whoa.
from foreign countries because of the obvious and extreme potential to corrupt U.S. foreign policy, because foreign governments and foreign leaders can pay money into the pockets of American officials in exchange for favors. So Trump, by creating this World Financial Liberty crypto company along with Steve Witkoff and his kids, made it so that not just it's a potential that foreign governments and foreign leaders can invest huge amounts of money that go into Trump's pocket, but that was what the company was created for, and that's exactly what has happened.
You mentioned that Trump was in violation of some type of federal law that restricted presidents from doing business.
It's a
with foreign countries,
constitutional
right?
amendment.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so that
What about
you
Biden?
did not make that claim. You didn't say Trump was in violation of a constitutional amendment to try to protect the interests of the American people. You said that he was corrupt. So you haven't shown any type of reason of why Trump is corrupt.
No,
You just
the
say that
constitutional
Trump has a
amendment is
business.
called the.
Does Trump own it, or does his family own it?
Doesn't matter.
He owned it when he founded it, and once he was inaugurated president,
Yeah,
he
so he
transferred
followed
ownership
the
to
rules.
his sons.
He followed the rules of
I'm
the
not saying.
amendment.
I'm not saying.
What rules did Hunter Biden break then?
He followed the rules of the amendment, and also you have no evidence of him being corrupt.
Joe Biden also was not convicted for any matters relating to
Hunter
Hunter Biden's
Biden.
business
True.
activities,
Yep.
even though most people in this room, as I've heard, and I would agree, think those activities were corrupt. There are lots of political corruption
So
that
who
don't
should be
end up
indicted?
crossing the political line of corruption. Corruption is when you do things that look and have the potential to be untoward because the way you're monetizing and exploiting your political power, which is supposed to be in service of the public, for your own personal wealth
But how do you have
instead.
proof that he did this out of interest of the American public?
What we know,
So-
what we
and
know.
also, who should be indicted?
What we know.
Somebody should be.
He's already said it's not illegal. It's just fuck. Conflict of interest. Good memes.
Indicted, right? If there's corruption, who should it be? Donald Trump Jr. Eric
There's
Trump,
a lot.
Donald Trump,
There's
who
a
should
lot.
it be?
There's a lot of corruption. I think it's corrupt when the pharmaceutical lobby goes to members of Congress and says, "Well, donate $100,000 to your political campaign or spend $100,000 on your
I would
election in
agree that's
exchange for
corruption.
this." But
Yeah,
it's not
I would agree
criminal.
that's
But
corruption.
it's not criminal. It's not criminal to do. And so there's all kinds of corruption, unfortunately, in our
So first of
system
all-
that has been legalized.
Okay, so we both agree Trump didn't break the rules. He gave the company
Based
to
on
his sons,
no,
right?
I think we need
Essentially, and that's what he did with his-
we need an investigation to see exactly what happened. But based on what we know in the public, just the mere fact that
Do you
Trump
think
is
Trump is
creating
trying
a
to profit?
company, that Trump is creating a company
Do you think
4
Trump is trying
days
to profit?
before he's been massively
So he's trying to
enriched.
profit.
He's been massively
so
enriched by these
Trump,
transactions.
during his first presidency, his net worth actually went lower than when he originally was inaugurated in 2017.
It's like about
what?
His net worth actually went
rich. He's been massively
so Trump,
enriched by these
Trump,
transactions.
during his first presidency, his net worth actually went.
Oh, for during his first presidency, maybe, but I mean, I'm pretty sure everything was kind of fucked. It was just into COVID. No, how does that even matter? Why are we only talking about his first presidency? I'm sorry, what is the year right now?
Lower than when he originally was inaugurated in 2017.
It's like about 3 times greater now than it was when he sought the presidency in 2016.
Yeah, because the inflation happens, time goes on.
Because he got billions of dollars from the Persian Gulf dictatorships with whom he's closest in his presidency.
During his term from January 2017 to January 2021, Donald Trump's net worth went down. During the Biden administration, his net worth went up, most likely because of inflation, because the Democrats were rampant with printing money.
Serious question. Just imagine a Democratic president that's not Donald Trump. 4 days before they're inaugurated as president, they create a new company.
Problem?
And into that company
Don't
flows
care.
hundreds of billions of dollars or billions of dollars from the very countries
Don't
that'll
care.
be most affected
Don't care.
by that president's foreign
Don't care.
policy. That wouldn't concern you at
Nope.
all? You don't think there's anything
Well, I could have a concern
disconcerting
of it. There
about
could be a
that?
suspicion, but I'm not going to make a claim that he's corrupt, and that's the claim that you're making right now.
Because everything that Trump has done since then has benefited those very countries that enriched his family so greatly with billions of dollars in personal wealth
So every
to
single
his
thing that he's
family.
done.
And not only that, but the Saudi
Don't you
investment in
think the
Jared
Iran
Kushner's
war
fund,
negatively affects the
Saudi,
UAE? But the Iran war negatively affects the UAE, right? And Donald Trump somewhat
the
caused the
UAE
Iran
is
war.
thrilled
so-
with the Iran war.
Really?
As people said
Really?
earlier,
They're having
the
shit.
UAE,
They're having shit
the
fall on
UAE
their cities.
The UAE
They're having
hate-
shrapnel
yes,
fall on their
the
on
UAE
Dubai.
hates
Really?
Iran. They're encouraging Iran. They're encouraging Trump to continue. They want regime change. They despise
agree they
Iran.
hate Iran,
So
yeah.
do the Saudis. This war is
Walk back
done.
immediately. Good one.
Trump would never have done this war without those very countries with whom he's closest, which coincidentally has also poured billions of dollars in personal wealth into his family. If that isn't corruption, I don't know what is. And all of you thought that what Hunter Biden did, which was on a much, much smaller scale, you all thought that was corruption. I did too, because I'm actually consistent. I don't change my principles based on
That's
which
great.
party is in
Awesome.
office.
Good
It's
for
the
you.
same exact transaction, only as Andy McCarthy said, the longtime conservative prosecutor, in order to compare Trump's kids and Biden's kids, you have to add 2 zeros to what Trump's kids are doing.
All right, let's
True.
pause there. We've run out of time. Thank you.
Good to talk to you. My final surrounding claim is bombing Iran is not in the American people's interests.
If you'd like to debate this claim, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Glenn.
Hey, how are you?
I'm
Good to
Josh.
meet you.
Good to meet you. So I think in talking about this conflict or war, the things that we have to establish is what each side has lost. So in my estimation, and you're welcome to jump in, I think the U.S. has lost about $40 to $50 billion. We've lost about 14 servicemen, which I think is the greatest loss that we've had. And
I cry every time.
beyond that, we haven't lost a lot. What Iran has lost is their entire military, their entire navy. They have lost half their leaders and a lot of money along the way. So in my estimation, we're winning this war. And the reason why we're fighting the war is because 1,000 Americans have been killed by Iran in the last 50 years.
Has Iran, you mentioned the losses, has Iran lost any civilians?
Yeah, I'm sure. That's how war works.
Like, for example, that's how war works. Like on the first day we vaporized 170 young Iranian schoolgirls
I think
by
it's
bombing an elementary school?
Yeah, I think
does
it's
that weigh into the
yeah,
calculation?
I think it's very clear that every single war there are civilian casualties. There's
No,
never
I
been
know,
a war
but
in
that
history.
you have to weigh that. That's one reason why we shouldn't fight wars, right? Because innocent people die in them. Life created by God is extinguished.
I would say if you're trying to be America first, which is the claim that you made, you should prioritize your own citizens and servicemen over the people of other countries.
Okay, because I was hearing a lot, probably more than any other argument, before the start of the war, that the reason we had to go to war was because the Iranian people were massacring their own citizens, and we had to go and protect them and liberate them and bring them freedom and democracy. Is that a goal of the war? And how does that weigh in with America first?
So absolutely, that's part of the war. The reason why Donald Trump chose to take the time that he did to go into Iran is because of the fact that the people were ready to stand behind the U.S. government in that.
So regime change is part of the war?
I think regime change would be the best case scenario of the war, yes.
No, but is it a goal of the war? Like when you start a war, you have goals. Like you said,
yeah,
you gave a reason for the goal, which is that like they've done bad things in the past.
I have no
What are
problem
the
admitting
goals
that
of
it's
the
one of the
war?
goals. I have no problem admitting that is one of the goals.
Has that goal been
We
fulfilled?
are currently 5 weeks into the war.
No, I know. I'm asking.
It has not.
This episode of Surrounded was filmed on April 12th, 2026. A month and a week ago about. Or a month and 2 weeks ago.
We're actually in our sixth full week, but has
In
that
6
war?
weeks, no, that has not been accomplished yet.
Do you think that we're on our way to accomplishing the fall of the Iranian regime, and that the American government considers that to be one of the ongoing goals?
I think it is very possible that could happen. I think it is the least likely goal. I still think that the U.S. should pursue that goal.
But if we end up in this war, we're currently in a 2-week ceasefire, where there is no regime change, where the current Iranian power structure, the Revolutionary Guard, everyone else continues to govern Iran, will that have been a successful war goal?
Absolutely. We've lost 14 servicemen, bless their hearts, but they chose to do that, and they were very brave in doing so. We have decimated their military.
No, I understand the other. No, but I just want to focus on this.
Do you think you talked about the servicemen that died when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan like that?
Our goal.
Absolutely.
Because I'm just confused because you were saying
there
yes,
are tiers of goals for sure.
You were saying we do.
If we can achieve 4 or 5, fantastic.
But I think what you said is so important, which is we're America first, right? That's the movement that I thought that Donald Trump was creating that made me interested in the movement.
Yeah.
And so you began by saying, oh, it really doesn't matter about these 170 schoolgirls because we have to focus on American lives, not Iranian. No, that is what you said.
No, I'm saying that is every single war. We do this moral grandstanding where we say, oh, these civilians died. I do think it's horrible that civilians died. But I absolutely do, but I think it's worse for the American government to prioritize anybody outside of America. We've had over 1,000 people killed by the Iranian regime
how does
over the
bringing
last
freedom
50
and
years.
democracy to the Iranian people help the American people whose interests you say should be first?
Because the current regime has killed over 1,000 Americans. If it's a different regime, hopefully that will not be the case.
But what if they're as tyrannical but pro-American? Is that fine?
What if, like we could say what if about...
Well, no.
Yeah, what are the chances of that?
Because I think that's so, because we prop up dictatorships throughout that region. We don't care about democracy or bringing freedom to people. We prop up the worst, most savage dictatorships in Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Bahrain because we don't care about liberating people around the world. So I just want to get a sense from you for what is your goal? Is it a pro-American dictatorship like we installed previously?
It's very clear that the goal is if there is a regime change, it will be by the Iranian people. That's why Trump chose to do it when he did it.
Is it our goal? Is it a war goal?
That is a goal, but there are tiers of goals, obviously.
Okay, so if we don't end up changing the government, will that be a goal that is failed or unfulfilled?
Sure, yeah, I've got no problem saying that.
Okay,
we got to pause
achieve
there.
4 out of 5, no problem.
We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Good talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
Good talk, guys.
First of all, I was flabbergasted to find out you're Jewish.
Surprise.
Surprise. Why does Iran need a 60% enriched uranium for?
Iran never had 60% enriched uranium when the Iran deal was in place, and there were IAEA inspectors all throughout those Iranian facilities. When President Trump nullified the deal, destroying the obligation of Iran to have inspectors and 24-hour surveillance, they decided that they needed protection because now they no longer had a deal in place. They knew they could be threatened by Israel or the United States at any time. And if I were the Iranian leadership, I think the one thing the Iranian leadership did that was probably their biggest mistake is that they didn't develop a nuclear weapon.
Jeez.
Because we've created a world in which we tell other countries, either you get nuclear weapons and we won't mess with you, like North Korea
So you're
or
looking for the
India,
North Korea?
Pakistan,
You're looking for the North Korea model. That's what we're looking for?
I'm saying if I
Well,
were
North Korea doesn't get invaded.
Iran, or we tell the world, if you don't have nuclear weapons, we'll invade you and bomb you at any time.
Would Iran use a nuclear weapon if they had one?
No, why would
they wouldn't get
would be
invaded.
instant and immediate suicide.
Then you have-
we're told that the Iranian
It's not
government.
suicide. It's martyrdom. To them, it's jihad.
Okay, then why
I just heard that Israeli. I just heard that accent. Whoo! Careful. That's a super Jew. Careful. Oh man.
the Iranian
It's not
government.
suicide. It's martyrdom. To them, it's jihad.
Okay, then why aren't they launching all of their? I know.
Why are they not launching what?
Why aren't they launching?
First of all, hold on.
You got to let me. You have to let me talk. You said why aren't they? Why are they that they want it suicide?
Oh, he's got him tripped up. He's met a higher power level Jew, and he's fucking now. He's channeling Jerusalem right now in this debate.
Every single time that the Israelis and the United States have attacked Iran in the past 5 years, which is many, and even before that, they have been extremely restrained in their. They have been extremely restrained in their. Okay,
extremely restrained.
Yes,
How many times have you define
yes,
Iran?
Been extremely restrained.
Define who it is that is attacking. Is it Iran? Is it the proxies? Are the proxies part of Iran?
Iran has an internationally recognized government at the UN that's recognized by all countries around the world.
Great.
When I say Iran, that's who I mean. It's like Israel, the United States and Israel have proxies in Iran who are trying to overthrow the government, who were arming, who were training in order to overthrow the government. These peaceful protesters, a lot of them were actually armed and organized by Israel and the Mossad, as they themselves
people that
admit.
were killed.
What is the number 30 or 40 or 45?
Well, from what we hear right now is 45,000. But here's what I tell you.
That's
that
not
Iran,
the number I hear.
Iran ran out of body bags. Okay? Iran ran out of body bags in those 2 days. And a country of 90 million people usually has around 30,000 body bags in case of emergency.
What is that? Is that true? Is that a thing? Countries have approximately 30,000 body bags on hand. Is that based on their Amazon order history, or where did that number come from?
Bags. Okay? Iran ran out of body bags in those 2 days. And a country of 90 million people usually has around 30,000 body bags in case of emergency.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at right now.
Not the emergency body bag fund.
We have the numbers. The numbers vary from all over the place.
Yeah, they
but
do.
Let me
they
ask,
do. No, I want to ask you. I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
If we here in the United States, we had an insurrectionary movement that was armed by China and Russia, and they admitted it openly. We've armed an insurrectionary movement inside the United States because we want them to overthrow the American government. And they were going and attacking police officers, killing police officers, attacking government buildings. How do you think we would treat those protesters?
I don't need to give you any kind of pie in the sky because you have Hamas.
True.
And you have Hezbollah.
No, I'm talking about the United
and
States,
you have
this
Houthis.
country. I'm talking about our country.
Okay, do you not believe that these are attacking Americans as well?
The United States has been attacked many times.
So because
can I answer your question?
Yes,
you asked me a
please.
question, just let me answer. The United States has been attacked many times over the last 30 years with horrific terrorist attacks. Do you know how many of them have come from Iranian terrorists or Shia terrorists? The answer is zero. Zero. We have never been attacked on American soil. What terrorist attack? What?
How the fuck would an Iranian proxy even attack the U.S.?
What terrorist attack happened
What
from
terrorist
Iranian
attack?
and Shia terrorists? Which terrorist attack? We've had 9/11, the Boston Massacre, the Pulse shooting, Fort Hood, attempted bombing in Times Square. These were all Sunni terrorists from the governments that we love, like Saudi Arabia.
Sunnis are good
That's a stretch. They were like ISIS related or this. I don't think the Sunni Shia divide matters anywhere near as much as people say it does. But they definitely are not Iranian proxies. I think they're usually more active in the Middle East.
And Shiites are
You know, there's a difference between Iran and the Arab countries, right?
Completely.
And so
no.
I'm asking
They're
you about the
actually not-
violence from Iran. We're talking about the Iranian threat.
So
How
the-
many terrorist attacks have come from Iran or from Shia terrorists on the United States soil?
On,
Any?
on United States
Zero,
soil?
right?
That's not zero. No, it's
What
not
is
true
the
because
answer?
the proxies are considered part of Iran.
Which Iranian
Which
proxies have
proxies?
attacked the
None, I
United
don't
States
think.
homeland? How many Americans have died? And
Do you
Never
when?
heard
not
of this
consider
before.
the barracks over?
We'll get to that. I'm talking about the homeland.
Oh, so it has to be in the homeland for
That's generally what governments are supposed
So
to
it needs
secure and
to be.
protect.
So if Americans are killed
Let's
abroad,
talk about
that doesn't count.
Let's talk
No,
about
no,
the
no,
homeland
no.
first.
Because you said America first, right? So American lives matter.
Right, we shouldn't have.
So if
reason we shouldn't have troops over protecting Israel is because we put them in harm's way. But I'm asking about the American homeland. Has Iran attacked the American homeland through asymmetrical bombing, through terrorist attack, through guerrilla
The fact that
warfare,
you-
anything?
you-
Why can't you just answer that?
Because the fact that you're blind to
Can you
it.
answer that? Just
Yes.
please answer that.
Yes.
When
Yes,
did that happen?
I don't have the exact
It
details
never
of
happened.
when it happened.
If
but it
anyone
happened.
has any examples of terrorist attacks that
Okay.
came from Iranian or Shia terrorists, please come up and tell me.
Iranians control the Middle East through their proxies, through the Houthis, through Hezbollah, through
Please do the 7 fronts. Just let me hear 7 fronts so I can coom.
Hamas.
And we control the Middle East through our proxy, which is Israel.
So Israel's a proxy of the U.S.?
Oh, careful.
right.
Yeah.
I don't like to hear that one.
Absolutely.
Oh, so we're not an ally, we're a proxy.
Okay, we got to pause there.
Tell me
We gotta
why,
pause
tell me
there.
why,
Pause,
tell me
pause,
why
pause.
the ceasefire needs
Pause.
to include
You've been voted out by the majority. We got to pause there.
Thanks.
Oh, thank God. Sorry.
What?
I thought the fucking Midwesterner that you love was going back up.
God, you're such a hater. I don't like that you hate your own kind, Mooten.
Hey, how are you? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. I think bombing Iran is absolutely in the American people's interest because they've been a problem for 47 years, and I think what Trump is
You see
doing.
how good boy these people all are? They took
They
that
all know it.
talking point on immediately. Good job, guys. You got it.
Is he realized an opportune time where their economy, like the real, means absolutely nothing. Their terror proxies are no longer a deterrent. Hezbollah and Hamas have been absolutely decimated since October 7th. In a desperate attempt, they murdered 30,000+ civilians in the streets, and their uranium, 30,000+. According to hospital records, 32,000. And 60% uranium enrichment. So I think Trump is looking right now and saying, we don't know what the next administration is going to do. We could have Democrats that might unfreeze their assets again, go back into the JCPOA. This is an opportune time where they're like the weakest they're going to be in the whole existence. So like we should end this now.
Yeah, I think it's. I want to talk about that. I just want to ask you, and I'm not trying to be personal in any way, but I do think it's an interesting phenomenon that for centuries, when countries wanted to go to war and people said, "Yeah, let's go to war," the big test was, are you willing to risk your own life in the war that you think is so important to defend your country's interests? You seem like a young guy to me. Have you ever thought about going and fighting in this war that you're cheering on?
I mean, I've thought about joining the military before. I don't know about this war specifically.
Tell me
but
a bone spurs.
True. But also, Glenn should make him answer that question.
That's what makes them heroes. They put themselves in dangerous situations.
Yeah, I'm asking that because, as I said earlier, we are a country that constantly fights wars. It's extremely aberrational for other countries on the planet, including very powerful ones like China, as I said before, that has grown so significantly because they know that war is not a way that you pretend you protect your national interests, but you undermine them. But we are so eager, so it's so easy for us to say, oh yeah, go fight that war, go blow up these people.
We're
go
a global
bomb these people.
superpower. Of course, we're dealing with
China's
stuff all
a
the
global
time.
superpower as well and doing infinitely better than the United States by so many metrics
about
because
that.
of the go ask Latin American and African countries with whom they're dealing more and who they prefer to deal with, China or the United States, and they will tell you that the United States is a bully country that runs the world through military force, and China isn't. That's one of the problems that we have. But Iran has not attacked the United States, has no ability to attack the United States. We're a moral country only goes to war and blows up elementary schools if that country is actually attacking the United States. It's supposed to be a war of last resort.
Well, we kind of stopped for a while, but I guess now we're back on that shit, back on our grind.
That is not the case here. We're blowing up their country. We're killing their people. We're threatening civilizational annihilation.
You don't think Iran would...
Because Iran is not a threat to the United States.
Death to America, death to Israel, 60% uranium enrichment. There's never been a country ever that for civilian uses with nuclear energy that goes that high.
When the Iran
deal,
Iran deal was in place, to what level did Iran enrich uranium?
Want to know the thing about the Iran deal?
I asked that,
They
please.
kept it low. Want to know why? Because that had an expiration date. Meanwhile, they got to reap all the benefits of their unfrozen assets and fund their proxies.
This other thing about unfrozen...
There's no limitations on their terrorism.
Do you think the United States has the right to just go around stealing other people's assets? Like, hey,
if they're going to use it for terrorism,
Indonesia just sold, and the United States just decides that on their own.
We're on a higher moral ground than Iran. Why are we pretending they're the same thing?
Because I think that's very doubtful. I know people in the United States, some of them think that, but the rest of the world does not think this. The rest of the world considers...
I do agree that the U.S., generally speaking, is on higher moral ground, but that means that you should be able to sell that to anybody else on the planet. You should be able to sell that to the United Nations or sell that to at least your own people for declarations of war if you're truly on higher moral ground. One of the nice things about being on higher moral ground is you do have the ability to... I don't want to say manufacture consent, but like procure like authorization from your people or from a united body or to form a coalition of people to do things. To say you have a higher moral ground and that's why the president has to do everything in top secret and can't ever be honest about his objectives is kind of fucking retarded.
The rest of the world thinks
we got to pause there. You've been voted out.
We do have to
pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to clarify. When you say that we are bombing Iran, I would like to say we are bombing the IRGC. This has been some of the most highly discriminate warfare in U.S. history. No civilian infrastructure has been targeted except for one bridge. The school that you're talking about, there's some credible intel that was a misfiring from the IRGC, just like with Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza.
That is not true.
I don't think that's true, yeah.
There has been no fucking reports that have said that.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks that anymore. But go ahead.
Okay, so even if...
But what about that bridge? What about that? So the bridge is used by... It was a bridge built to be used by
Glenn,
civilians,
I'm not going to get hung up on one bridge, okay? For the dismantling the IRGC.
But we're threatening to blow up all their power plants now, too.
Okay,
well,
we are trying to get the Iranian regime, which is belligerent, to the table. So this is what I view as in America's interest. Having an aggressive power in the region, which seeks to export the revolution, someone else already mentioned, they are fighting a cosmic war. It's really hard to negotiate with terrorist whose own mortality is a welcome martyrdom. So the cost-benefit analysis and the negotiation table with Shia extremists is going to look a lot different than any other nation around the world. So I view taking them out not only in America's interest, but in the interest of our NATO allies in Europe.
Getting rid of the government?
No, taking out the heads of the IRGC. I'm not talking about regime change, and Trump actually has never stated that as the official objective of this war.
Wow. But he did tell the Washington Post that freeing the Iranian people was the
No,
main
he said it will be yours to. It will be yours to take.
No, I'm
he
saying
said
he
that is a positive externality. That is not the war aim. There's a difference between a positive externality and a war aim, and that is what President Trump stated.
Do you know the Washington Post interview I'm talking about? Are you denying that something that you hadn't read?
Glenn,
I know. I want to encourage people to go and
Don't
read.
insult my intelligence in the point I'm making by myopically focusing on one Washington Post article.
I think I take the president seriously when he says this is what my most important goal is in
He
going
said it
to war
was
with
to
Iran.
take out the IRGC's infrastructure. Again,
That's
it's
not
the
what he
IRGC's
said, but okay.
infrastructure.
But
And again, he's never said regime change. He said it will be for
Is
the Iranian people.
Is the IRGC still in power?
Well, then you're acknowledging the great success of this military campaign
Great
if you're saying that they're
success.
not in power.
No,
so
no,
yes,
they
that's
are.
why this is a great.
Thank you, leader.
So I asked several people now.
Mhm.
The goal of this war, or the goals of this war,
Correct.
what do you consider those to be?
The main objective, the primary objective of this war is
Mhm.
to take out the IRGC's offensive military capabilities, which is not just a nuclear weapon. It can also be ballistic missiles, which can reach the interior of our NATO allies in Europe, which they didn't know before.
NATO
we started
allies.
the
Oh, we
war.
care about them again?
Negotiating with the Iranians, right?
What are you waiting for? What is the alternative, Glenn? You want them to hit a NATO ally country and then we're in a larger scale war? Is that a positive alternative to you?
Israel has a huge amount of huge nuclear stockpile.
I'm not even talking about nuclear capabilities.
And there are tons of countries that have intercontinental
They are
ballistic missiles.
not belligerent actors who are fighting a cosmic war and aren't deterred by their own mortality.
I think Israel is fighting a cosmic war.
They are not
Damn,
fighting
she's
a
getting the
cosmic war.
clap.
They're not fighting an
They're religious
eschatological war.
freaks. The people who run Israel are religious and political
They can
fanatics.
have
But
a
let me-
different
let me
religious
ask-
prescription
I
than
need
you
to ask
and
you-
not be
let me ask you
fighting
a
a
question.
cosmic
Okay,
war.
let me
If
ask
they
you-
were fighting a cosmic war,
What does cosmic war mean? Like interstellar war? Or does she mean like
think it means
existential war?
religious shit.
Okay, gotcha. That's kind of a cool phrase. I kind of want to fight a cosmic war. Sounds kind of base, but okay.
You got to let me
exists
talk.
today.
Let me ask you a question. If the Iranians are these extremely irrational people who seek martyrdom and want to die, why are we now negotiating an attempt to negotiate an end to this war? Why were we able to diplomatically negotiate
Because we
an Iran deal
destroyed them.
before?
We eliminated their
But you're
air
saying they want to
capabilities.
die.
We
They want to
eliminated their
die.
naval
But
and
they want to
so
die.
many of them have died.
But you're saying they want
love
that.
the
Why would
instant
there
just-
be Iranian officials currently negotiating into the war with the United
Because
States
they're
when you're
realizing that the
saying
end of the
these are
regime is
religious
near.
fanatics who want to
Right.
die? Why
The
would
end
they
of
want the war to
regime-
end then?
Because the end of the regime is going to come if they can't get to the negotiation table, and that's a certainty. So let's get back to why this is good for America and Europe.
Yeah.
They have ballistic missiles that can reach the interior of our
Mhm.
NATO allies.
Mhm.
The rest of the Middle East,
Nuclear armed
you're
NATO allies?
You're
They're
so
gonna do that?
myopically focused on Israel when it comes to
I didn't
Iran
mention
and the Middle
Israel.
East. I'm talking about this entire debate. You have the entire Gulf states. You have Saudi Arabia, you have Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE. All of these countries also benefit. So you're trying to myopically focus and propagate Israel as a motive for this war.
I
why
thought we were
shouldn't be
America
there.
first. So
We
now
are
we're
America
fighting
first.
a war for
What is
Persian
your
Gulf tyrannies?
What is your alternative? So
The
you don't
alternative
agree with
is
sanctions
to-
because it's their money. You don't agree with responding to provocation of the Iranian regime.
I
and
think the
you've
Iran deal
conflated-
worked
you've
very well.
conflated
Not to
Iran-
get. I think the Iran
you've
deal worked
conflated
very
Iran
well. I think
and their military
you asked me
prophecies.
my solution. I can only tell you if you stop talking for like 3 seconds. Just breathe a little
Sorry,
bit.
you-
My
you
solution
spew
is
so much
that
false
you're not.
information,
You
it's
can't
hard to
stop
talk to you.
talking. My solution is the diplomatic solution that we had
Diplomacy has never
from
worked.
2015 until 2018 when the Iranians were allowing IAEA inspectors into
Yes, and
every
they
single nuclear
continually
facility,
reported that they were
and
not
the
complying with the
IAEA
JCPOA, which is
reported
why Trump
18
let the sunset
times
clause
from
go.
2015 to 2018 that the Iranians had not enriched beyond 3.67%. The prime minister of the country that you seem to really like, which is Israel, has said for 30 years that the Iranians are seconds away, minutes away, weeks away from getting a nuclear weapon. For 30
Going
years,
from
the Israelis
60%
have
to
told
90% is like
Americans
1%.
have told Americans this, and yet they never have. Tulsi
so you're a
Gabbard, who
propagandist
runs
for the regime. We've
Tulsi
established that.
Gabbard, who's not an Iranian but the American director
Oh,
of national television,
clap
You are
goes
a
to.
propagandist for
This
the
is what we all. I think you're probably too young to have lived through the Iraq War, but anyone who stood up and opposed the Iraq War, the worst disaster in American history of the last 100 years, was told, "You're a propagandist for Saddam Hussein. You're rooting for the terrorists in Iraq.
What
this
happened in
tactic
Iraq is
doesn't
completely
work. This is a
different than what's
bullshit."
happened in Iran.
I'm an American citizen.
Saddam Hussein
I care about
let
American
UN's
interests. I'm
weapons
not a
monitors in after
defender
UN
of
Resolution
Iran.
1441 to go and inspect their weapons capabilities. The Iranian regime has not done that. They kicked out the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Only once the deal was invalidated
Okay,
by
so if
President
they're such
Trump.
good faith actors, why wouldn't they just let let them stay.
They comply with their treaty that Israel refuses to sign, which is the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Every country in the world except 4, Israel, India, Pakistan, and South Sudan, signed that deal.
I want to
under
understand
that
what your
nuclear non-proliferation deal, the IAEA inspectors
I'm not just
are allowed
talking
to
about
go
their
in,
nuclear
and
weapons.
Iran
I've talked about
allowed
other
far
offensive
more,
capabilities.
invasive capability,
Listen, Glenn,
far more.
it's IA 101 that when your adversary races to arms and increases their offensive capabilities, it's going to create a security dilemma.
That's a madman mentality. Every country in the world is building arms. The idea that we're supposed to go and bomb every country that we're in conflict with because they build up their conventional weapon system.
The difference with
Okay, we
Iran
gotta pause
is
there.
that
We gotta
Iran
pause. We gotta pause.
right.
You've been voted out.
All right.
Return to your seat.
Kalapa for her.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm back. So we're going to get into whether or not this is America first. I just want to start with one thing that you've been saying is that we fight wars at the behest of Israel, which is very important. So in
I didn't
Israel,
say that.
No, you did. You said that we fight wars for Israel, or we come into Israel's defense in every single war. That's what you said, but let me respond to that. So when it comes to this,
I need to tell you what I said, just so you don't start arguing against the point that
that
it
is
made.
what you have said, but sure, go ahead. Really quickly.
What I'm talking about, I think this war is for Israel, but I also know that every time Israel has wars, when they're having Iran shoot weapons at them, when they're stealing in from Syria and Lebanon, we deploy military assets to the Middle East, put our soldiers in harm's way to protect Israel in those wars.
Okay, that's inaccurate. I mean, the Iron Dome and the Arrow system specifically deal with ballistic missiles, and we also have bases in Jordan that also intercept them as well.
We didn't deploy
And so,
American
hold on,
forces.
hold on.
No, we didn't. I want to.
But let me get my broader point in really quickly.
Okay, but let's get the facts first.
That's fine. Hold on. I have a broader point.
He's got a broader point.
What you said is so false.
Just let me make this broader point.
Let him make
so
the broader
you've made that general claim that we have been fighting these wars for Israel, right? You've made this same claim for Iraq.
No. I think Iran is a war for Israel. I don't think other wars are for Israel.
So only Iran.
Correct.
That's the only war that we fought for Israel.
deploy our military forces to protect Israel on top of all the money that we give them.
Do we deploy our military forces to protect Bahrain and Qatar and Kuwait, where we have also military bases there?
Barely ever, because they're not fighting wars.
Barely ever.
They're not fighting war with their neighbors the way Israel is.
What was the number one country that was hit by Iran during, in terms of missiles?
You mean in the last 3 months since we attacked them?
During the conflict currently.
They've shot wars at a lot of Saudi
number
Arabia,
number one is Qatar. Number one is Qatar. Israel's like number 3.
Okay.
Okay, great. And so our assets are there defending those countries as well, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, we have military bases.
Okay, great.
There.
What did bin Salman say in 2018?
In
reference to
2018
Iran?
is a long time. What do you mean?
Well,
what
you were
did he
mentioning
say?
things from the 80s and 90s, so I was just saying. But
the Saudis and the Iranians have had.
We got Israel's strongest defender over here.
I wonder where that came from. But hold on, bin Salman said that the IRGC and the Ayatollah.
The last time you were here, you gave no. The last time you were here, you gave a speech.
You're trying to avoid this.
No,
because you know what he said.
I'll tell you what he said.
2018, bin Salman said the Ayatollah.
Guys,
you have to.
We gotta have an exchange.
Right.
Glenn, let's
let me get it out.
Let's hear from Glenn for a second, and then let's get back into a dialogue.
In 2018.
Hey, Matt, we're starting with Glenn.
Okay.
You asked me the question about the situation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a brutal, savage dictatorship that the United States props up. Because of religious conflict, Sunni versus Shia, the Saudis and the Iranians have a lot of tension that has been actually decreasing. But because the United States uses Saudi Arabia to attack Iran, Iran has been shooting missiles at military bases in Saudi Arabia.
That's not true. So it really stems from the 2011 Yemeni civil war. And I mean, we can go to Yemeni history where there's communists in the south and the north that was more pro-Western or more pro-capitalist and so on. But specifically, the number one funder of the Houthis has been Iran.
Correct.
Right? And the Houthis have
says Iran is not a brutal regime, by the way.
Ooh. That guy sounds like a propagandist to me. But I'm pretty sure it is considered a fairly brutal regime.
They've taken over the capital. They've been undermining the official government, and that's why Saudi had to get involved to protect their own airspace and their own defenses as well, because the Houthis were launching missiles into Saudi Arabia. And who funds that? The IRGC. In 2018, bin Salman specifically said that who was the Hitler of the Middle East in 2018?
Who?
Or even still now, you could say
who?
the Ayatollah.
What?
That's what he specifically
said. It's so funny
said.
that you think Mohammed bin Salman is the moral arbiter of the Middle East.
I think in comparison,
Mohammed bin Salman is the worst monster on the planet.
You can say he's the worst monster on the planet.
Is he? Is he a monster?
Hold on.
Is he a monster?
Sure, hold on. $142 billion arms deal.
Yes, sir.
$142 billion arms deal we signed with them
No.
last year. I also believe we signed a $1 trillion AI deal. So in terms of economic benefits that we have and strategic asset benefits, yeah, it's very good. right? And it's funny. It's funny when you say we put our assets. It's funny when you talk about our assets. That's really funny.
What is the point? Can you get to the point?
Well, you've
that
been
you're
actually.
making?
Yeah, sure. I can get to
What
it.
is the
Keep
point?
interrupting me. Great. I'll get to it. Just let me finish. So, in reference to our assets specifically, let's talk about South Korea. So, since 1950, we spent about $4 billion annually on South Korea. So that's what, 76 years we've been doing that for? That's $304 billion. You don't talk about that. How many? Where is the number one country?
I do talk about that.
Hold on. What is the number one country where we
What
have
does this have
20?
to do with the war in Iran?
What is the number one? The war in Iran? Because you're acting as if this is an Israel only thing.
I haven't mentioned it. We're not talking about Israel.
You did say this. Was in reference to Israel.
Bombing Iran is not in American people's interest.
Yes,
Do you have
and you've
anything
been
to say
making
about
this.
that?
You've been making this purely about Israel.
I don't think it's about Israel.
Yes, you do. Yes,
no,
you
I
have.
haven't. That's
Why are you
bullshit.
so scared to make the truth? You've
Oh
been
my
making this
God, they're
about Israel.
annihilating
Let me
him.
ask you a very simple point.
The point that I picked,
Right.
that number 2
He's gone.
that
Get
I
him outta here.
chose is President Trump is subservient
Right.
to the Israel lobby.
That's a different
I spent
prompt.
here and
Oh.
talked about this for 20 minutes. I'm not afraid
Prompt
to talk
check.
about Israel. There are other reasons why the United States is at war with Iran besides Israel.
Let me
Israel
give
is
you
a
a
major
dichotomy.
factor.
You got prompt check.
Okay,
You
we
got
gotta
prompt
pause
check.
there. I just
Get him
want
out
to
of
give
here.
Matt one-word answer. Do you think it's in the United
Can I
States'
ask him
best
one-
interest?
I have one question for him.
We're out of time on this prompt, so I just want to hear a one-word answer to his prompt. Do you think it's in the United States' best interest to bomb Iran?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Okay, great.
Damn. Smoked.
I want to do a quick poll. Raise your flag if you would support if the United States sent ground troops to Iran. Raise them high just so we can get a count of flags.
They're not sure
If you want
because
regime change, that's the only way to do it.
well, they can't raise their hand because they don't know like what would Trump actually
Trump's
do it. So
position.
they don't know like the yeah. The reality is what he should have asked is if Trump said we need to send ground troops to Iran, would you be in support of it? Then they would all raise their hands. Every single hand would shoot up.
Flag if the Americans sent ground troops to Iran that you would go right now and sign up to be part of that ground invading force.
Well, that's dumb because like people can virtues on it. But they should say he should have asked the other one because then every hand would go up guaranteed.
I did for 12 years.
Thank you guys.
Somebody say
So for
alpha
our
man?
last portion, I'm going to ask you to look around the circle and select somebody who you want to return to this chair and debate for a final 10 minutes based on their claim.
You're the winner.
Hi again, Glenn.
Hello.
My surrounded claim is that Donald Trump
never remember
is
this guy.
the best president of my
I don't even know what prompt this guy debated. Okay.
lifetime.
I don't remember.
All right, so I want to ask you what your metrics are. Just name the 2 or 3 most important metrics.
Okay, yeah, I would just say America first, being prioritizing of the American people.
True,
I would
okay.
say the second metric to me would be, frankly, the economy, which I know that kind of ties into
True.
America first, but I think the economy is the most important thing in opinion polls to Americans. And then the third is foreign policy, which we've talked about today, which is kind of a personal note for me. I think he's been the best on foreign policy.
So let's start with the third one, just because what we've been talking about, but I also have a question about that. So as I said earlier, though I had been long associated with the left prior to Trump's emergence on the political scene, what interested me probably most about his approach to this new political movement, to this kind of new Republican politics, was this very aggressive critique of prior Republican orthodoxy on foreign policy, particularly the Iraq War, but other kinds of regime change efforts. In the first term, I thought he adhered to that because, as I said earlier, he was the first president in decades not to start a new American war.
Right.
Do you think that there has been a full-scale alignment in the second term, even though he focused on Yemen and bombing the Houthis, which President Biden had done, then he moved to arming and funding Israel and its destruction of Gaza and its stealing of land in Syria and Lebanon, then on to Venezuela, talking about overthrowing the government of Cuba, putting a new regime change in Cuba, and also this war in Iran. Can you really say with all of that in
This guy's such a fucking hater, bro.
14 months that he has focused most on America?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the hallmark of his foreign policy is that he makes conflict.
Wait, before that answer, we have a quick quick queen break.
Pokey?
And so the other situation is there's people like this. You are a protester who's been out here and you have a dirty mouth. But, okay, so that's just what we deal with. So just for people that want to know what it's like to cover these protests, it's constant with this. This is what these people do. They want people who are in this country illegally to be released out onto the streets. DHS says that's what they're going to not be doing. So we'll see. Nazi bitch!
America?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the hallmark of his foreign policy is that he makes conflicts quick. And so I don't know if I can say this about the other people in the room, but for me, if the conflict in Iran doesn't end in the next 6 months, then I would consider that to be a failure. I don't think any of us should look at Donald Trump and just think he is my undying loyalty. I have full trust in him. But the things that you all listed there are quick things that have happened. And I think that has always been a consistency for Donald Trump. For me personally...
Did the Yemen bombing accomplish anything?
I think any time that we're taking out terrorists and anti-America people, I think that is a pro thing to do.
How do you know? How do you know we killed terrorists? Do you know the people who died in Yemen from that bombing? Do you know their names?
No, personally, I don't know.
So how do you know they're terrorists?
I think that Donald Trump has credible intelligence from our intelligence apparatus that tells him these things. That's what is
You just blindly assume that if we kill people, they're probably terrorists?
I assume that I do not know as much as the intelligence apparatus for
Is
Donald
that the
Trump.
same assumption when Biden's president, when Obama's president?
I do.
Go kill people, and we'll just assume they're
Obviously
terrorists?
not. I think prolonged conflicts are an indication that that intelligence is not being acted upon.
Like President Obama fought a war in Libya for, it lasted about 4 months, 5 months, took out the government. The head of Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, who used to be a U.S. ally, was sodomized and raped to death in the streets.
I don't.
For what?
The Libya shit?
Was under Obama. Or are you asking if Obama got congressional approval?
Yeah, I'm asking if Obama did.
What? I don't know if he needed it, because that might have been part of the authorization of the use of military force that we did for Iraq was considered fairly broad. So he might not have needed it for that. I don't remember 100% though.
That was a quick war?
Two people in chat said yes, he did. 3 people in chat, yes, he did. So he did.
Did you support that war?
No, because that was anti-American. When we're trying to depose regimes or peoples or terrorists that are anti-American, we do it quickly. Fantastic every single time.
But Gaddafi was a
simple.
designated terrorist. He was accused of having taken down a plane, a Pan Am jet that killed 260 people, which was one of the reasons why the United States take up the war. I
totally understand. I think my problem is, so you're pointing to all of these things. I think at the same time, I can point to all these things, Venezuela, Maduro being taken out, that were absolutely fantastic. The consistent through all of Trump's presidencies is that it's quick.
The last part of Trump's first term in 2020 was dominated overwhelmingly by the COVID epidemic, in which he ushered in a vaccine that became very controversial. During that 2020 year, there were all kinds of very severe lockdowns. He kept Anthony Fauci in place, the COVID infrastructure in place. Do you think his management of COVID was good?
Well, I would not say that his management of COVID was perfect, but again, my claim
was it good? Was it good?
No, I wouldn't say it was even good. But my claim was that he is the best president of this century. And I think everyone here, and I think yourself would agree, that Biden handled it much worse than Donald Trump did. Do you agree with that?
I thought Donald Trump's handling it was terrible, and I thought Biden's handling it was terrible.
Much worse. I mean, Donald Trump would not have prolonged that in the same way. Can we agree on that, though?
The worst lockdowns happened under President Trump in 2020.
But that was also right when the virus happened, and nobody knew it was happening.
There were huge numbers of people throughout 2020 who were protesting on the grounds that those lockdowns were extremely repressive. We weren't even allowed to go to our relatives' funerals.
I'm not defending that.
No, but that was for me, that was an extremely dark mark
I totally agree.
on the first Trump administration.
I totally agree. I do not defend those things that Donald Trump did, but Biden was much, much worse. And
what did Biden do with the COVID
the vax mandate? Nothing that Donald Trump did was ever pushing a vax mandate on the American people.
I mean, there were people, including in the military, in 2020 who were told that they had to get the COVID mandate, who were told they had to get the COVID vaccine or face termination.
So I disagree on that, but Biden did it to the entire country. So again, my claim...
Wasn't it only to government workers? I think he wanted to do it through an OSHA mandate. I don't know if that was ever implemented, or if that got stayed and then eventually the Supreme Court said no. I don't remember.
I don't think you were forced to get vaccines. This didn't happen.
Well, they always leave the second part out, but I think it was you could either get vaccinated or you could get tested every 2 weeks. But they always leave the tested part out.
I don't remember that because I just got it.
Not that
because I'm not a retard.
Donald Trump did mistakes. My claim is that he is the best president that we have had so far. Biden is much worse. So my question for you, really quick, because we're on COVID here. Do you think that had Donald Trump been in office longer during COVID, that he would have prolonged those bad policies like Biden did for literally years after?
It's really hard to say hypothetically, but I know that he was out of office. But I know that the lockdowns and the empowerment of Fauci as this supreme authoritarian leader whose pronouncements couldn't be questioned. That all was done by Donald Trump. I know we all want to forget that because a lot of us think that was very bad.
I'm not
want to blame
that
on Joe Biden, but Donald Trump was the birther, the genesis
and
of
Donald
that
Trump
COVID
has
regime.
come out and completely come out against that, and Biden has not. So here's my question to you. There's only 4 presidents who've been president this century. Who do you think is better than Donald Trump?
I actually think that if you judge by the metrics on which I focus, but also on the impact of the country.
And what are those, just so I can understand?
Well, definitely, I would just say putting the American people first above the establishment, above global institutions, above the military-industrial complex, all the things that Trump basically promised to do, focus on the working class. I think that in a lot of ways, in the second term, Donald Trump's second term is so different from his first, and the second term, I think, is arguably
So you
the
think
worst.
his first term is the best version of the presidency that we've had this century?
It's just, again, it's just such bad competitors. But yeah, I would probably
No
rank his,
way.
in this century, I would rank his first term near the top.
So we're in agreement.
Yeah, I told you that. I said that from the beginning. I said that from the beginning, that I was an enthusiast for what Trump promised, for the Trump movement, for the America First movement. I actually believed in that. That's what I want.
So here's my question, since we have more time, Glenn. President Trump's presidency, his second term, we're only about a year and a half in, right? And so are you willing to change your opinion if, for instance, we talked about Iran earlier. Let's say the Iran war finishes up here in the next month, and there is no regime change, but we did completely take out their military. We did take out half the IRGC.
We did. We haven't taken. They have thousands of ballistic missiles left.
Are you willing? My main point is: are you willing to say you were wrong on Donald Trump and say, "Oh, I was looking at the first 18 months of his presidency, but the last second term actually turned out pretty good"?
Well, I'll ask you some question. If Trump's presidency worsens, you'll change your mind too. Obviously, I would change my mind based on whatever happens. But the problem is, this war is going to have lingering and enduring effects on the economy, on gas prices. The Iranians are not going to give up the control of the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to continue to charge money for that, which they didn't do previously. You have to account the people who are dead as well. I think that the funding and arming of the destruction of Gaza, which Joe Biden did for 2 years and then Trump did for 8 months, is also something that is one of the worst crimes of the century. So yeah, I hope it gets better. But the problem is, and I assume you agree with this, it's extremely likely, we don't know the future, but it's extremely likely the Democrats are going to take over the House at least, and maybe the Senate.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is Trump's focus not on what he promised it would be on.
I think that's why Donald Trump is the greatest president of the century, is that he's looking at the second term and thinking, I'm not thinking about the midterms. I'm not thinking about the politics.
Or about the promises I made to the American people.
Absolutely not. He, as we've talked about today, he has talked about this since the 1980s. He has always been anti-Iran, and he's always made it very clear that Iranians...
Why didn't he do it in the first term?
Because, as I spoke about earlier in our previous section, because the Iranian people themselves have come out and are finally willing to actually go against the IRGC.
We don't fight wars to liberate people. We don't fight wars because the population wants it.
It is completely different when their own people are supporting it. My main point is this.
How do you know? Let me ask that, because it's so fascinating to me when people say the Iranian people want to be bombed. They want to have their bridges blown up. They want to have their...
I'm just saying...
How do you know what the Iranian people want? There are 96 million of them. Have you been there? Do you speak the language?
No, I've just seen the videos of in Tehran where there are thousands of them cheering in the streets.
There are thousands of Israelis today in Tel Aviv protesting against the war with Iran.
90% of Israelis support the war, and they have taken No.
You're right.
They have taken on 3,700 casualties in the civilian population, and they support it.
This is my point, though, is that you cannot judge what an entire population
wants
by the fact that...
I can see it in the streets. I don't have to judge it. I'm looking at them cheer in the streets.
You can see in the streets in the United States huge numbers of people marching against Donald Trump and calling him a monarch and a Hitler, but you wouldn't say that means that's representative of American public opinion. How do you, who never visited Iran, who doesn't speak the language, who I bet knows very little about Iranian history, how do you know what the majority of 96 million Iranians want when it comes to whether we want them, they want us bombing their country?
I know there are, we don't have data in the last few weeks, but I know there are journalists that have gone there. They have created public opinion polls asking who supports the IRGC and who does not. It always overwhelmingly comes out.
What does he feel about the U.S. right now, where like 30% of people support Trump?
Fake news, liberal media, something. I don't know. It's always fucking retarded.
You told me that you weren't that bothered by the blowing up of that school because we should prioritize American lives over Iranian lives, weren't you?
We were talking about the timing of it.
Now you're like, we should go to war because the people...
We're talking about the timing of why Trump did this. And I think the reason why he's done this is because the Iranian people will make it easier. The same is true for Israel, by the way. Israel's taken way more casualties than the U.S. And the reason why this is America first is because Donald Trump is able to see that Israel and the Iranian people are willing to do the work so that we take on less casualties. And that's been true.
Have you seen pro-government protests in Iran?
No, I have not.
You haven't? You should go check because they're gigantic.
No.
And yes, the reason for that is because every population unites behind their leaders when they're attacked by a foreign country.
I just want to make
one more point. It's a tribal instinct that happens. George Bush was a hated president.
Right.
He got elected. 9/11 happened. All Democrats, liberals, people on the left, for the most part, united behind George Bush. It's a tribal instinct that when you're attacked by a foreign power, you unite behind your government.
I just want to make one more point on the casualties because we talked about that. We've taken 14 casualties since the war started. Something that Donald Trump did towards the first term that you really liked was that he brought us out of Afghanistan.
And Biden oversaw the withdrawal, but Trump negotiated it.
But he started that. During that time,
Why do they all moan? Like, they want Trump to get credit for the withdrawal, but then Biden to take the penalty for how it was done? But, like, okay.
Trump administration.
What's this true? Biden oversaw the withdrawal of Afghanistan.
It's fine. My main point is when Donald Trump was withdrawing our troops from Afghanistan, we took over 200 casualties doing that. We've only taken 14 casualties.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Damn.
It's fine. My main point is when Donald Trump was withdrawing our troops from Afghanistan, we took over 200 casualties doing that.
I don't even know what the talking point is. He meant when Biden was withdrawing, I think, unless he wants to give Trump credit for it. But then he said over 200. Oh, he's saying, I'm sorry, casualties. I don't know if that's true or not. I know there was like 11 people died. I don't know what the casualties thing is. I'm not sure.
Only taken 14 casualties doing that. And when I say casualties, I mean loss of life.
There's a lot more.
Loss of life. 200 plus people died in the Afghanistan pullout. That's news to me.
Yeah, loss of life. Loss of life. You're right. Loss of life. We took hundreds when we were taking troops out of Afghanistan.
What
Donald Trump is doing right now is making it, and I think it's very heroic, he's making it so if a future president gets involved in Iran and puts boots on the ground, that we don't have to lose hundreds of people pulling them out again. And so I think what he's doing right now is absolutely heroic.
What do you heroic?
Yeah,
you mean
absolutely heroic.
What's heroic about sending other people to go fight wars?
I think it's absolutely heroic to say, again, we've had 1,000 Americans die in the last 50 years because Iranian terrorists and proxies have Americans die and
go fight wars.
How many?
I think it's absolutely heroic to say, again, we've had 1,000 Americans die in the last 50 years because
50 years because of what the fuck?
Iranian terrorists and proxies have
killed them. You said the war's
so,
going to end without a regime change.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I don't think anyone does.
But if it does,
but
you said if it ends quickly without regime change,
Trump
you're going to consider it a
understands that the American
success.
people may or may not want the Iran conflict to happen. But
they don't.
He is willing, but he knows what happens when we do go into places like this. And he does not want to have to withdraw again. So that is why he is attacking the way he is. And we've taken far less casualties because of it.
The problem that he's gotten himself into is he has two options, both of which are very bad. Either we end the war now, we leave the regime in place. But they have thousands of, let me just point, they have thousands of ballistic missiles still pointed at Israel, still able to reach the Gulf states. They still have control of the Strait of Hormuz. They're still able to charge for it, which none of that was true prior to the war. They still have huge drones and drone making capacities. We've sunk a lot of their ships. We killed a bunch of their leaders. They're still running Iran. The Iranian people still don't have.
I think that is Iranian propaganda.
What is Iranian propaganda?
The fact that they have complete ballistic missile capabilities is absolutely not true.
U.S. intelligence assessments that are appearing in every single media outlet.
And so now you support the intelligence. Like we got into this talking about how Donald Trump.
Oh, so I can't rely. When you are
what?
I think it was the CIA, I think it was the CIA leaked out that apparently Iran still has 80% of their pre-war missiles / drone capability.
Fuck you.
Talking about how many missiles Iran has or what their military capability has. You can't rely on Iranian assessments. You can't rely on American intelligence assessment. Where do you get your information? What are you relying on for telling me that they've been degraded greatly?
I'm relying
What's your source?
I'm relying on journalists. There's been the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Where do they get that information?
Yeah, it's possible they get it from U.S. intelligence.
Of course they do.
Yeah, but
so you're using the same sources I am.
I understand. But to act like the same ballistic missile capabilities exist right now.
No, they don't. It's been degraded. There's fewer of them.
So how could this be a downside?
Thousands of them.
What is the downside on our side?
The downside is that we've evaporated civilian life, including a bunch of young girls, and not only them, but at least like thousands of people in Iran, many of whom are civilians. We've lost our own soldiers. We've spent billions and billions of dollars. We've made the world infuriating. We've driven up gas prices for everybody in the world.
Agreed.
We've destabilized that region. We have no idea what's going to come next.
These are jihadists that go blow themselves up. This is not destabilizing the region.
Talk about war as some little game that you just
no, it's not a game. It's absolutely
and
not.
then you just leave it alone as if you're not actually involved in the bombs.
Okay.
All right, great discussion.
Thank you.
Amazing.
If you are MAGA and you watch this video, let us know if you support the United States actions in Iran. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in Wednesday for a follow-up podcast, and we'll see you next time.
I was really pleasantly surprised that pretty much universally people who were here were very connected to, engaged by, thoughtful of the topics we were discussing. It just made it much more pleasurable and enjoyable for me to do.
And I think Glenn Greenwald is a very good debater. Everything he was saying about Qatar and the UAE and the financial interests that the Trump administration has with them, he's absolutely right.
Glenn, who seems to be anti-corruption on both sides, skirts around the Qatar issue. Again, when he talked about the Trump family's dealings in the Gulf states. There was a $5.5 billion deal that they did in Qatar, and that's really conveniently left out because they exist within the axis of power that aligns with Iran.
Kind of true, unfortunately.
Corruption doesn't get that much attention because people don't think that if they vote those people out, the other people will be less corrupt.
Trump, yeah, I think he's corrupt like every other politician. I just think he's far
they're all the same, true.
less corrupt than the Biden administration or any other alternative that we had going into this election.
Problem, troll
I mean, I
face?
definitely think there's corruption. I don't think it's more than Joe Biden's. Causally, is it negative for us? Like, this company funding Trump, is Trump doing something that's against American interests as well?
And the amount of money that the Trump family is monetizing and profiting from, it's shocking. And I do think when people hear it laid out, even Trump supporters who you know, are willing to be critical of him, trying to take a second look and say, wow, that does actually bother me.